Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the joint Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen meeting. We're continuing with budget presentations, and we have Chief Rowland today. Kick it off.
Actually, we're going to first item is a fire apparatus.
Oh, that's right. I didn't get it again. First item on the agenda, Tony has some rates for us for the fire apparatus.
So, thank you. I received rates from three banks and two corporations for the ladder truck lease, and each for 5 years, 7 years, and 10 years. You can see the upload. I uploaded the schedule on your on the share drive.
Tony, would you be willing to say where you uploaded it?
It's on that budget information.
It's on the budget information above the.
Okay, I don't see it, but I will look at Beth's thing.
We're sharing, some friends.
Share, the share.
Okay.
It's like a share.
Which folder?
Up above.
It's
It's actually,
The
it's
BOS
also in your Board of
26,
Finance.
Before you
Before
go
you
into
get
that
into the
detail.
budget.
Oh,
Before you get into detail.
Oh,
It's a big
that's helpful.
document.
All right, thank you. I
Area.
found
Gotcha.
it. Thank you.
okay. Don't worry. That's
So, there's 5 years, 7 years, and 10 years, and you can see the range of rates from 3.59% in 5 years to 4.869 for 10 years, and so it depends on which term you would like. Would all depend on which entity, institution that we would go with. The only caveat I have is that because of the timing of this, the only item I don't have is that Liberty Bank has not confirmed whether or not they can do a non-appropriations clause. So if they can't, then they're out of the running.
Too bad, they're the cheapest.
Unless you do 10 years, and that's M&T at 4.112.
Which
So-
in this case, go on.
Yeah, so the trade-off, of course, is you pay a little more interest, but cash flow-wise, it's easier on the budget, and it allows you to do other things. And it's closer to the payment of $178,000 that we just paid off for the engine. Is it engine 3? Am I right on that?
Yes.
Engine 3.
But isn't one of the questions what else we might need to buy from the fire department in
Well,
a certain time frame?
Right, and there's another, the radios and the air packs are coming off lease in another year.
But I'm talking about, those hopefully aren't as expensive, but I don't know.
Oh, they're
They're
expensive.
pretty close.
They're
Okay,
expensive.
okay.
They're-
But okay, so my question is evening out the capital budget expenditures.
Right.
One way or another. Do you have a recommendation?
I was going back and forth on this, and I think because of the budget situation, I think we should at least consider the 10 years for M&T Bank at $235,000 per year versus I would either go there or the $315,000 for Liberty Bank at 7 years.
It's just a lot of interest, Tony.
It is.
And that's assuming Liberty has the non-appropriation.
Assuming they have the non-appropriations
If you
clause.
were to talk about a 7-year, other's it would be.
It would be M&T Bank,
for both.
right? And they do,
The,
they have the clause in there.
Challenge we have is more along the lines of cash flow. So even though the amount of interest is greater, it's a difference of about $150,000 if it's M&T, just using M&T as an example. About $150,000 between the two, and $140,000. So that's $14,000 on an annual basis. From a cash flow standpoint, if we have a lower rate, we're able to do more in terms of borrowing and/or funding for other things that we might need. So it's also an apparatus that's normal life is 20 years or more. So it's not as if we would be extending the lease out past the
Nor is it on-
utilization.
Right.
So it's, so there's, from my perspective in our conversations, it seemed like it would be much more, we should consider the 10 years, something we normally haven't done in terms of our apparatus that we've gotten in the past. But in this particular instance, it also is the closest rate to what is coming off the lease. So you're talking about a difference of about $60,000 on an annual basis.
Right.
between the lease we're coming off of and the lease we're putting on here. So it has that's the minimal impact to us from a cash flow standpoint.
Sure, but the big question is, what else in that 10-year period are you gonna also have to fund? I mean, you have to
Yeah.
look at
I
it.
feel like that's-
That's capital expenditures for the fire department at least.
I agree, but that's something we would do regardless. We're deciding whether we
No, but
feel
in
this
terms
is.
of cash flow is what I'm saying. It doesn't, if in 2 years you're gonna have to bump up for something else, then sparing yourself for 1 year doesn't necessarily help
Well,
2 years down the road.
if
Because you're
you-
paying net more money.
Only,
But if you need something in 2 years, you're actually paying less if you extend it out for a 10-year period as opposed to 7. If the rate is at $317,000, the $317,000, and in 2 years you need another apparatus, or you need whatever we might need, whatever that is, you maintain that higher rate for the period of time. It's just a matter of how quickly do you want to come off. But yes, I understand and that's exactly what we would continue to try to do, is to level out the payments. And what offers the greatest flexibility in doing that is a 10-year lease. even
Unless
though
we
it's-
don't need something until 8 years from now.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, unless we don't need something. We do need something. We know we're going to need something. We have that in the
From the
budget
fire
already.
department?
It's
Yeah.
in their budget, yes. Yes.
Or we could hold it off.
So, now what we're doing is, like you said, like you indicated, what we've been doing is trying to see if we can bring things on as things are being taken off. And in this case, that's what we're doing here.
Okay, well, we're gonna have the capital budget presentation, right, to hear more about that.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
It's in the materials,
Yeah.
so. So from a recommendation standpoint, that's where I sit. In terms of my conversations with Tony, I think at this point, it's really up to the Board of Finance to identify whether this is something we want to move forward with and how we want to fund it, what options you feel is the best options to go with.
I think we have to move forward. No other way, this has to get done, or we don't do this, and then we're gonna get a $2 million or a $2.5 million truck in 4 years. This is the one time we can actually take advantage of something, and I think we should just move forward. That's my opinion. And your recommendation is which one, Tony? I'm sorry.
I would say it's either 7 years or 10 years, and, I think the 10 years would offer you more flexibility. That's all.
And the M&T.
M&T, yeah.
Tony, is there any prepayment penalty for any of these?
No, there's not.
10 years scares me.
Well, I don't know if there's other, just Board of Finances. Anyone
Just
else
Board of Finance is voting.
on the Board of
Doesn't mean we
Finance?
can't comment and
so
input on it. It's a
I
joint meeting.
agree with the 10 years. I think, Mika, your point about it gives us room to do, if there's inevitable, and we know there will be other things to come on, this gives us a little more oxygen, right, to entertain them. So that's where I sit. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, Tom's on.
Yes. Oh, okay, great.
This is Tom.
Hey, Tom.
How are you? Do you want to see the capital budget before you vote on it?
If you got it, Sean, why not? Sure.
Just be easier.
Before we vote on this?
Well, whether you want 7-year or 10-year.
Right.
Yeah.
Tom, did you want to weigh in?
Right.
I think the argument for 10-year makes the most sense for me. We are going to be, we have a lot of capital expenditures coming up. I think if we defer a bit, and as Mika and others have indicated, it's a 20-plus year truck. So that would be my recommendation.
Can I just ask one question? What are bonding rates at this point?
But 10-year bonds are probably low to mid threes. But if you add the fees on, I did the analysis. If you take add the fees on, you probably save a little if you bond, $20,000, $30,000.
I'm just asking because Mika, you had mentioned the idea that we might have to do bonding.
Yes, we,
The delay
For the
would,
police
That's-
department and other things.
yeah.
the only reason we
Would
didn't
be the
consider it
delay.
here.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to
If-
do it at the
If we
same
were
time.
bonding, and we were bonding anyway, and the timing worked, I'd do
Yeah,
that route.
that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
But because of the situation and the opportunity to get this, and this being a kind of the only opportunity, that's the only reason we didn't, but we did look at the bonding.
Thank you.
And, Sean, I don't know if you had a chance to try to renegotiate and get a better price, or this, we're locked in? That was the best price we had? I don't know if you-
Yeah, I went through, I didn't really sit down and negotiate until we figured out exactly where we were and what you guys wanted to do, but we're pretty locked in at that, not to exceed 1.9.
Okay.
You have now done all the bells and whistles and everything works?
We have, so we went through the whole truck, and they ordered up what they had to order up, like they had to change the grill and all that other stuff, so all that is on order right now, as you guys move forward with it last week. Yep.
And indeed, it's not to exceed 1.9 million with the adjustments they have to make it a
Correct.
Woodbridge fire truck.
You got it.
And the life of the truck is 25 years, you said?
So in rural departments, you get 20 years. We've been getting 25 years out of trucks, so I would say 25 years is a good number.
So I guess I agree with Mika. From a cash flow perspective, even though it's a little bit more expensive, and but according to Amy, I was leaning towards that, but I guess we'll take a vote, make a motion to,
Would you like me to make a motion?
Yep.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve the ladder truss lease quote from M&T Bank, 10-year lease at 4.112%, is that correct?
That's good, yeah, that's good.
Payment of $235,560 for a total of $2,355,600, and the interest, we don't need to
No,
know that.
you don't need that now.
Is that all you need?
yep, give me a second. Scott, second.
Oh, I'll second. Sorry.
All in favor? Yes, Tom? Can you see?
I'm in favor.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. One thing that just for full disclosure, we're looking at the agreement at this point in time. So we need to, if there is any opportunity for negotiation, obviously we should do it at this point in time. And we need to look at that agreement because there's some things there that I think we need to look at.
Okay.
So,
Hey,
Could
we
I
will-
just have one other thing, just on the record, the M&T Bank does have
Yes,
non-appropriation
They have,
clause.
the
Yes.
one that's
You might
expiring.
want
I'll
to
accept
include
that
that.
friendly.
I think it'd be good, just the condition,
That's what
since you,
expired.
it does have to go to the town.
The current
Yeah,
lease we have
okay.
is with M&T for which one do you have under lease now?
On engine 3.
3.
That would
The
be
one
friendly
we currently
amendment to
have?
this.
Yeah, no, the one we just did. Was that engine 9?
Engine 9.
Yeah, engine 9 is currently M&T Bank.
Yeah, in your negotiation process, you say, hey, we want to buy it, but help us on the price if they can't hurt. Right?
Okay,
Couple $100,000.
Thank you for all your work on that, Chief.
thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
next
guys.
item on the agenda, Fire Commission.
Okay, so our operating budget, this is just some of the stuff that we were expected to do, and some of the equipment that we have, and some of the main stuff. Medical expense, I'm sorry, the first couple lines are salary increases at a 2.5%. So those are pretty, which were negotiated, so unless you guys have questions on those 2.5% increases. The first line that would be going up would be medical expense, 52170. This is a mandatory thing where we need to do an annual physical for every single firefighter with DOT that drives the truck. I have emails here that they said they were going up in the area about 5% for physicals this year. Plus, in that line, we also buy the EpiPens and Narcan, all the medical supplies that we use, and all that has been consistently going up, as everybody knows. Repair maintenance machine. This line is usually, over the last 2 years, I'm gonna say, we've been pretty good with what was budgeted for. Before that, we were spending in the area of about $125,000, $130,000 a year, and we'd have to come back in January and usually get hit contingency to cover it. This year is gonna be tough for us. We're gonna have to come back, we know that. But these are the trucks that get maintained. This is just the apparatus, and then on top of the apparatus, we have all the equipment that's on the trucks that has to get maintained. We've had a pretty heavy year this year. Some of the trucks, we've had to pull the wheels off and check the brakes. It's one of those years where we have to do that, check the brakes, and if any brakes need to be replaced, we need to do that. So every truck gets lube oil and filter every single year. So an oil change on, say, an engine, like you go down the street and your oil change is $50, $60. Our oil changes right now are about anywhere between $1,500 and $1,800, just to put it in perspective. We've also had a big year, believe it or not, on batteries this year. So we've replaced roughly, I'm gonna tell you, at least 14 batteries. Each truck, even the small vehicles take 2 batteries. The bigger trucks can take anywhere between 4 and 6 batteries. So,
Is that an anomaly, Sean? That seems like an odd thing.
so batteries it's just how it came up. Batteries usually last us, we get anywhere between, we try to get 4 to 5 years out of them. And over the last couple months, we've been going through batteries pretty steadily, so hopefully we're good. We had to replace another 2 batteries today, so hopefully it'll get us through the rest of the year, but you just never know. Like, truck started up one day, we went actually to the funeral over here. Truck started up at the firehouse, we drove to the funeral, got out, we went to move it again, we went to start it, and the truck was dead. And it's a battery issue. Once we put the 2 batteries in, the truck starts right back up. So you just never know.
How many batteries are in the new apparatus?
In the new one, I want to say there's 6 of them.
Okay, thank you.
So my one question is, with the new apparatus, is there, I mean, was that factored in that, or was the old one factored in and coming up with this number about maintenance? Because certainly the old ladder truck has.
So there is money factored in for the old apparatus, but there's always going to be maintenance to do even on new apparatus like lube oil and filters. You're looking at roughly the same $1,500 to $1,800 there, on top of anything else that goes wrong with the truck.
I guess I'm just trying to ask is if you can shave $2,000 off of repair and maintenance based on the ladder truck, and that, because things are looking really scary, Sean.
No, I know, and it's
We're looking-
we've actually done pretty good. We've been lucky over the last couple of years. I can say we can, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna have to come back and say we need additional money.
Yep, that it would be a contingency matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
But
sense-
I'm just asking whether you think it would be a little better because of now we're getting a new truck.
For example, would it be possible to cut the maintenance that you expected for the old truck
Yes.
in half, considering the new truck will replace it? You know,
Right,
is
but-
there opportunity for that?
So even with this number, you have to realize that some of the older vehicles are getting older, and there's more maintenance that's required on that. So it usually, even when we get a new one, it usually balances itself out because the older vehicles are getting older, even though we're putting a new vehicle on.
I get it, but you had money in there for an old truck that you're no longer gonna have. So my sense is that
We
there should be less money.
Right, these numbers are really, like, we have to come back, we know that. I've had a discussion with Tony to get more money out of contingency for this line item, and it's not, some of it coming back is for the old truck, but there is other repair items that we didn't budget for, like 14 batteries, and other things. So we could take what we put in that line, we can deduct, we put 9,700 in, if we increased it 5,000 with the understanding that we may need to come back and hit contingency as long as we're all on the same page.
We have
I
to
wouldn't-
fix what's
I
broken.
would not delete that number.
No, I'm not suggesting that you do.
Yep.
It's
And
more, at
also,
this point in
just so-
time, it's
just so
more,
everybody
it's more
knows,
for us to have
the-
an understanding.
Yep, so
So that
just-
if we decide to cut
Yep.
something, we know kind of where to go
So
with it.
just note that even though we got a truck coming off, the service that we have to get on these trucks, the labor rates are going up. So it's not just a part, it's also the labor rate where we send them because we send them to facilities that are EVT certified, emergency vehicle technician certified. So those are the people that work on the trucks. They're specialized in emergency vehicle apparatus.
Understood. Thank you.
Repair and maintenance testing, this is an interesting line. I put some stuff down, just so you guys have an idea of what we need to do. These are DOT, NFPA, OSHA mandates, so every year, we have to inspect every single ladder that's on the truck. They come out, third-party testing company comes out, they test every single ladder, they put weight on it, they do a bend test on it. The next one is hose. So we roughly have 28,000 feet of hose in the department, which sounds like a lot, but at a fire, we could use quite a bit of it. All the hose has to get tested once a year. They come out, third party again, they hook up to the hydrant, they hook up to a specialized trailer they come with. They put hose on, they make marks on the hose near the couplings, and if the coupling spreads too far away from that mark, the hose has to be taken out of service and is basically discarded with. Those are mandates. Air pack testing, so every single air pack, even though some of them are newer than others, every single air pack, brand new or not, has to get tested once a year, meaning they put it on calibration unit, they go through the whole air pack and make sure the whole air pack is up to snuff. Fit testing is all our air masks, so every single year, everybody has to get fit tested. It's another machine that hooks onto a computer, and it's basically, if you go to the doctor and you have to blow and suck, that's basically what that machine does. And if people's face changes over the year, you may have to go from a small to a medium or a medium to a large mask, and there's an added dollar figure with that. Pump testing, every single pump in the department on the trucks have to get tested once a year. Generator testing, our generators at the firehouse and all the radio sites, it's a mandate that we have to test them twice a year as an emergency facility and emergency for the radio system. DOT truck inspections, every single truck once a year has to get a DOT inspection. That usually happens when it goes to for the lube oil filter for its regular maintenance checkup. Aerial testing, so every year the aerial truck has to get tested. It's a mandate, once again. Bottle testing, so this goes with the air pack. So the air bottles that the guys have on their pack, every single bottle has to get tested once a year, make sure that's up to snuff. Breathing air testing, the machine that we put the air bottle in when we get back from a call and fill the air bottle, the air has to be tested quarterly, so that gets tested 4 times a year, and there's a rating on the air, and if there's an issue, then we have to fix the machine or change filters or whatever else. Rescue tool training, testing, so all the rescue tools get bench tested and make sure they're up to snuff, get calibrated, make sure they're good. Meter testing, these are the CO meters that you guys just approved a month ago. So every single meter gets bump tested and caled, usually every 30 days. And if we do a call where we have high parts per million with CO, let's say we go to a call and we have 300 or 400 parts per million in a house or in a building, the meter would come back and it would get bump tested and recalibrated so it's ready for the next call, because you could damage the meter by having a high parts per million. And then there's so much other testing that goes on, but these are some of the ones I thought you guys should know. Just, these are non-negotiable, these are mandates, and there's no wiggle room
What-
in any of this.
Have the vendors given you any indication as to what's driving a 7.5% increase?
So it's funny because in the fire service, everything in the fire service is just astronomical, and you have to do these things. And like our air pack testing has gone up. I want to say that's going to go up almost 9%, and there's no reason why. Some of the, like, we have Scott Air Pack, so Scott drives part of the price with them, and then they drive the other price. And then they blame cost of inflation, we hear. They charge travel time to come down. And what we've tried to do was try to knock some of the travel time off, where we do fit testing and air pack testing at the same time, so they don't have to come two separate times.
I was gonna ask about vendors, whether we do this or whether other outside vendors come in to do that.
So,
And-
yep, so the majority of it is all outside vendors, third-party testing, except for the meters. The meters we do in-house. But, so air pack testing and air packs, even though those get checked once a year, those packs get checked twice a month. So the guys go through them, they'll check the O-rings, make sure the bottle's full, make sure the air pack is 100%, turn it on, play with it, make sure the pass device on the air pack is working correctly. And then everything has to be labeled. Anytime we fill a bottle, it has to go into a log, who filled it, how much you filled it. So there's quite a bit to all of this.
Right. Well, thank you for working on the efficiencies of, the fit testing, getting things done at the same time. Maybe we can keep investigating, even sharing with neighboring towns, maybe for travel purposes, if we get a better rate, if they do more at the same time.
So we do that with the hose testing.
Okay.
So we actually
Thank
do,
you.
I think it's with West Haven actually. So
Okay.
they come out of state. So when they come out, they try to do multiple departments, and we get a better rate already on that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Chief, is there someone, I guess this is backtracking to the previous line, but is there someone in-house, one of the volunteers that's a mechanic or that can do some of the maintenance?
So we do. So we have 3 mechanics, and you met Jim last week or a week and a half ago. He's the chief engineer, and then he's got a couple guys behind him. So basically what they do is anything small that we can take care of, whether it be a light out on the truck, something, a meter that has a charging issue, a radio that has an issue. They handle all the stuff like that, but actually taking the wheels off the trucks and doing all that,
They
all
can
that
do.
goes out. They
Can
don't,
they replace the batteries?
they do, so,
Okay.
they've been replacing the batteries, so we don't send that out usually. They do it in-house.
Thank you.
And there is a separate line for that. That's under, part-time all other.
Okay.
And if you see it in your thing, it would say engineer work. That's where that line comes out of. Repair maintenance building. So this is gonna go up, we think 20% is a pretty good number. The building is 18 years old. The equipment's getting older. Circulators, the cost of service contracts are increasing. We actually degraded this year, or downgraded our elevator service contract, which it was up 26%, and there was just no way that we could afford a 26% increase. So we downgraded that, so if we have different parts on the elevator that did fail, we'd be coming back for contingency, but to go up 26% in 1 year is just, it's crazy. And then we have the new storage training facility out back that we're currently trying to get that finished, which is gonna add some cost. But what I wanna show you on the next slide is, so you could see, at these locations, like around the doors, the base of the doors, how they're all rotting out from the water. The gutters are all dented and blown out, so the water is just pouring out of the gutter everywhere because that's due to ice. When the water gets in, it's freezing, and the gutter actually just came apart like blew apart, and we have the water coming out, but as you can see at all these locations, on the base of them, that all needs to be scraped off, fixed, reprimed, and painted, so we don't have a bigger problem later on. Same, the gutters, we have to fix the problem, so we get the water down the drain rather than the water sitting out there and creating that issue. The other thing to note is the bay floor, as you can see it. You could see like the drains are rusted, and then you could go over and you can see how they're clean again, but the floor is starting to buckle
Is
in
that
different
the top right
locations.
there?
What's that?
Is that the top, the one on the top right? Is that the floor?
Yes,
On the top right, yes.
those are the bay
Yes.
drains.
Yep.
And
Floor
is
is
that-
starting to
Is that a
buckle.
fill?
So
Is
in
that
that
filling
area,
there?
as you can see, it's not just the epoxy coming off, it's actually the concrete breaking apart. And these are items that they cost money, but we should fix now before they expand and they keep going where we're having a bigger problem. This whole floor has radiant floor heating in it. So we're not really sure why we have this issue. We had this issue when the floor was put in. They came back and it was in litigation where they said they had too much glass in the concrete when they poured it, and they were able to fix it, and it held up for this time. But now the floor is starting to fail in different areas, and an area like this should be addressed so it doesn't get bigger.
But how do you address it?
It's the same issue. It just goes down.
How do you address it?
So we'd have to bring somebody in, we'd have to cut that part of the floor nice and easy, chisel it out where we get back to a solid surface, and then they make a product that would have to go over, like a concrete product. It would just be like a leveler, a thin, heavy-duty concrete, like a grout, and then they would come back in and epoxy it to stop the concrete from going deeper and coming out more.
And you think you can do that without hitting the radiant heat?
Yeah, it should be. So if we let it go, we'll get down eventually to the radiant heat, but the drain and everything is starting to really show corrosion in the floor. Now, not all this is factored into that number that I just showed you. So if we go up top here, you can see this is on top of the building, on the roof. You could see how the paint has peeled off. This is our hardy plank. And all the paint is peeled off, and it's down to the bare hardy plank. And what's gonna happen is, as the water sits there and keeps hitting it, it's gonna swell up, and we're not gonna be able to paint it again. We're gonna have to replace it. But you can see in the picture to the right on the bottom, you can see how much it's faded over the last 18 years. So this building, even though everybody calls it the new firehouse, it's really not the new firehouse. It's 18 years old, and the building needs maintenance, and we try to keep up with the best we can on it. But you can see like the roof over here, how it's all rusting away, and the gutters in the back are leaking. So
Sean, pardon my ignorance, but I thought Hardy doesn't need to be painted.
every 15, Hardy has a paint warranty of 15 years.
Okay.
Anything over 15 years, it's on you. It doesn't last forever.
Okay.
I found out.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, I thought about putting hardy board on, but then I found out
It's good.
not
It's
a permanent
Hardy.
solution.
No, Hardy board works great. You just after
Have to
15 years,
maintain
you
it.
have to paint it, and then you're good probably for another 15.
So a question, two questions.
Sure.
One, on the elevator, you mentioned your contract. We don't have a contract for all elevators? To the extent we sort of combine buildings, elevators,
We
might
do
we get a
not.
better deal?
We do not.
So we have Kone at the firehouse, and I know they have something
They have
different
different
here.
elevators in different locations.
Right.
Based on what elevator was put in.
And there's not one service that
That's what I'm aware of.
provides different, for those
Usually go
different
to the
types of
So you had to
elevators?
be
No,
with
so-
the
Only
menu.
one person left in like the entire, like half of the United States that can still service that elevator.
So we have Amazon doing everything, but when it comes to elevators, it's
Except for
all
elevators.
special.
It's a small specialty.
Okay,
Elevator world.
okay, and then a similar question about the building itself. So, is the fire department somehow responsible for making this maintenance happen on the building and separate from what Brad Parsons does for other buildings?
We do, so we have an HVAC contractor that comes in, maintains the HVAC equipment, and that's gonna come up in capital. So when the building was new, we had service contracts for everything,
Right.
and we rolled into those, but we maintain everything out of that comes out of that line, goes back into the building.
But for little things like painting or, you know, or gutters, I mean, that's to me is fairly universal per building. How do we do it from an invoice perspective, right, and a purchase order perspective?
They have a separate account for their maintenance expenses.
But you can't go out and find a vendor to get a good deal by
We
doing
could.
all the painting and
We could.
or all the gutter work together, is what I'm saying.
We could,
Right, so
Yeah.
in this,
I
in this,
mean, it might
in
be
this,
pennies on the dollar, but that's what we're looking for these days.
in this line right now, the increase does not include the painting. I'm just showing you this. It includes everything else inside the building that needs work. So, we're having some big problems with our HVAC equipment right now. And we're gonna get into that in the capital side of it, but, whether we have the faucets that are battery operated faucets, because they wanted the battery operated faucets when the building was built, and we're having major issues with
I
that,
mean,
so.
the ones where you put your hand
Yeah,
underneath.
so.
In terms of
We
build,
replaced the battery, so we've had to replace some of the faucets, and we're at the point where we're not replacing them with the battery operated faucets, we're putting regular faucets in because they're more reliable. We were spending oodles of money on it. Now, we're just going through and we're replacing what works, and that.
Brad is tasked with inventory, generally what the buildings, our buildings need at this point in time, in an effort to identify what's needed and how we can best address what's needed, like gutters in general, roofs in general. And the roofs were the first thing they did. He's working with the building officers, Nigel Light and Dwight Rowland, specifically to identify the different areas of all of the buildings that we have in the campus here.
So, I did talk to them about that building committee, and showed them these pictures, so I know
Right.
it's on their list
Right,
on what to do, and I think
so
they're
that
gonna,
it is something
at
that's
some
being
point.
considered and worked on.
But I want you guys to, my point today was just to show you that the building is aging and it does need some work.
You're showing that you'll be back. That's what you're showing.
Well, I'm not gonna, hopefully I will be back. Hopefully Nigel and Dwight will be back. All right. Equipment and rentals, so, these are just some of the things that come out of that line. So our, dumpster, we had a really, really good deal on our dumpster up until this year. We were paying $200 a month. And the company is no longer around. They decided to sell out, and we priced it around, and the best deal we could get was $353 a month. So, but the company that was doing it before was a fireman in another town, and he was helping us out, so it worked out to our benefit, and now it doesn't. The oxygen canisters that are on all the trucks, that are in the airbags, we have to carry spares. Those have gone up every single year. And there's other things like acetylene that we have for torches for the engineers and some other things. So all those are rentals. Communications radio. All right, so this line, we're actually gonna deduct over 22%. So we're gonna save. And the reason being is this radio system, this is for the town-wide radio system. So this encompasses the fire department, the police department, and public works. It all comes out of the fire department budget. We maintain the entire system. So we had when we redesigned and we redid the radio system back in 2019, we have what's called a simulcast system, what we had before. We went from 3 sites to 6 sites for much better coverage, because the other coverage wasn't helping us. So we have multiple sites, but we also had a Motorola contract. And our Motorola contract, our last year, we spent roughly $115,000 on it. It was called a break-fix contract, so that included any equipment that went down or any updates that needed to happen with the equipment, because the new radio systems are all basically computer-based. So if you're running, I'm gonna say Windows 7, and you need to move to Windows 11, you need to upgrade the whole system. So we had that for the last 5 years, or 6 years, I think our contract was. That's coming to an end in June. And Motorola, we started this process back in August, and we got our what our increase would be about a month ago, and I talked to Tony about it. They went from roughly $115,000 all the way up to $161,000 a year. And then there's a step increase each year, so by the time we got to year 5, we'd be paying $180,000 a year. Which, right now, I just don't see it being beneficial to do it. And the reason being is, in 2030, we have to do another upgrade to the system. So the upgrade is roughly $800,000 that we would need to do. That would incorporate the consoles, some of what they call at each site, they're called GTRs. So basically, let me just show you what it looks like. So the radio on the left could be a police officer, a firefighter, public works out in the field. Then you have the 6 tower sites in the middle. So when you talk, each one of these, the signal goes to all 6 tower sites, and it depicts which is the clearest signal in milliseconds, and then it goes out. So what we have to replace are the dispatch console on the right-hand side, the comparators, which are up there, and then we have to do some upgrades at each of the actual sites itself. This is not an upgrade for like portable radios or truck radios or any of the handheld stuff. This is the actual main system. So there's 2 options here. And I talked to Tony and we kind of agreed. If you give me 1 second. I don't have it. Or do I? One option is you can go from the $115,000 a year down to the $71,000 break fix contract, meaning our radio provider, Norcom, here it is, would basically, if something goes bad, it'd be almost like the Motorola contract. They would call it would be a depot. Rather than sending and getting a new one, they would depot it. So they would put a replacement in, they take the piece that's bad, they would send it out, get it fixed, bring it back, and then reinstall it. That is roughly $71,000, $71,382 a year. The other option is that we're due for an upgrade now, and the upgrade's gonna happen in June, and it falls under our service contract. We could drop down to $16,250 a year, which would be even a bigger savings. But that would incorporate just a preventative maintenance agreement, meaning they go out, they would check the sites quarterly, make sure nothing's in failure. They would do preventative maintenance. They would do minor stuff. The difference is with that is if we were to have them, if we had an issue with the radio, which we had last year, I pulled the tickets and we probably had 15 calls. It would cost us, we would have to pay roughly $175 an hour for them to come out, and we do a pay-as-you-go system, meaning time and material. So meaning we'd be on the hook for the part and for the labor at the 16,000. If we do the 71,000, not everything is covered 100%. There are some things, but the labor would be covered. Most of the parts would be covered with the exception of a couple items. But we are going through and updating. So what I would recommend doing this year is I'm almost tempted to go with the $16,000 option, since we know everything's up to snuff. But what I want you to do is leave the 71,000, we'll put the 71,000 in instead of the 160. And it gives us a little breathing room where if we do have an issue or whatever, we have something to choose from. And then next year, we look at, maybe we deduct that, or maybe we want to go back to this if our number is up. Now, when I base it on 15 times last year, I don't think we're gonna spend the 71,000 this year if we opt to go with the 16,000. But I can't, there's no guarantee in it. So my recommendation is we go with the 16, we leave the 71,382 in the budget. And if something happens, at least we have it to go back with, but we're already deducting quite a bit because we're not going with the Motorola contract.
The other way to do that is if you really think it's gonna be the 16, we put some money into contingency.
So you can't just get, so 16 is the bare minimum. That means you can't have one call, one thing break,
But, I
no
mean,
one's coming out,
okay.
no one's doing this. You have to
Because-
put money into on top of that if you're gonna even cut that 71 down.
So what would it be? I mean, I'm just saying,
It just depends on
But you
what,
could,
do that.
we just don't know.
it just depends on what happens to
Right.
break in terms of what additional dollars.
You're
we
gonna
have in
exceed the
16.
16, at the minimum, you're gonna do the 16,250. Do I think you're gonna exceed the 16,250? Absolutely. Do I think you're gonna be at the 71? I hope not,
Hopefully
and
not.
I don't think so.
Right, I don't think so either.
Well, I don't think so either, but I can't sit here and tell you,
I
I think
understand
50
that.
is enough.
The question is whether you put that possibility of money. Say you decide you need to tax the taxpayers so the money's available if needed. You could still park the money in contingency, which is overall a more contingent, flexible line. Not down to 16, but say you did 50 and put the other 20 in contingency.
It's just a matter of where the money
You're
goes,
right.
and I
Yeah.
agree, and I agree with that. It's,
Yeah.
it can't be 16 because you know you're gonna spend more
right,
than that.
and we know
So
we're
we've gotta
gonna
come up
have,
with the
we'll probably
number.
have at least 15 calls. That's on the average.
So,
What would that add up to?
yeah, and what's the number associated with that?
I can't, it doesn't.
It'd be good
Well,
if you
it
can,
depends. If it's in the middle of the night, you pay extra because it's off hours. If it's during the day, you're paying the 175. If it's off hours,
it's important
pay it
that you
over.
consider it, otherwise we will. And you know a lot more than we do in terms of, that kind of thing. So if you can give us some sort of
so if you're
recommendation.
gonna put this 58 and put 20 in contingency, you can do that. I would feel more comfortable leaving, we're dropping from 115 to 71. And then if we do really well this year and we don't think we're gonna have issues, maybe next year we look at dropping it even more.
And it also provides, I understand what you're thinking, it also provides you latitude for line item transfer, sure you need something with maintenance or something along those lines. Gives you a little latitude without going into contingency, which is always a good thing too, but
This is a line that you really don't wanna, Tony will tell you, this is a line that you really don't wanna do line item transfers for. There's a lot in this, in the line. We also pay Frontier out of that for the fiber lines at each one of these sites. Those fiber line bills are roughly $1,800 a month. We have UI at these sites, which we pay for, which is roughly $200 a month at each site. There's a generator at each one of these sites that has to be maintained twice a year. And then you also have propane and diesel, because we have a diesel generator and we have some propane generators at these sites.
we are
So-
talking about 54240, correct?
We are. So
And that's all in there.
everything in that line, everything radio related comes out of that line. We've never
So-
I guess
transferred
what we're
money out of
getting at
that.
is if we take that down 20,000 and put it in contingency, it's still,
What's in
So-
that number? Sorry to jump in,
That's-
but in the 40,000 in savings, what are you assuming in there, chief?
we're saving the money from the Motorola contract from roughly the 115 down to the 71.
So you don't have that 70 in the 147.
You do.
You do.
It's included in there. So
Yes.
where else are you generating savings? Because that's going down by $40,000, that line.
So we're not paying the Motorola contract, we're gonna be
Okay.
paying the Norcom contract. So the Motorola contract's roughly 115,000.
Okay.
And if we did the Norcom contract, we'd be down to the 71,000.
And the current Motorola contract repairs everything, replaces everything, there's zero risk.
Right.
By switching, we are taking on risk.
Okay. So we've got the 70
So it's
included.
worth the risk, considering how high they're going on their
Right.
the contract.
And the history.
And the
We're in the-
The need.
Right, in the history, right? Yeah.
So years ago, you had to, and they've changed, so years ago, you had to, and it just got changed. So there was a hardware portion of it and a software portion of it. So the hardware portion, you could opt in or opt out. So meaning if something went broke, we would be responsible to fix it. If the software end of it, meaning it would be an update every year or every 2 years. But if you didn't buy the update this year and you needed it next year, you needed to buy next year's update and this year's update. So there was no cost savings to go back, and you would have to buy all these updates even if we didn't budget for it. So that's why now it's all under one. It's called a break-fix contract. There's no software upgrade or hardware upgrade, it's one.
So let's keep going, Sean, so we can,
Okay, these are some of the training line item. So we have NFPA and OSHA training that we must do every single year for every firefighter. Extrication training, in-house training, passport training, EMT refresher. So EMT has changed over the last couple of years, especially in the last year. So we have to constantly do CMEs, where we used to do EMT refresher training every 3 years. It's required every other year, and in that every other year, you have to do all these CMEs. So it's quite a bit. We also have active shooter RIT training, electric vehicle fire training, which is somewhat new over the last couple of years, which we've talked about. We've graduated 2 firefighter this year alone. We've graduated 2 firefighter ones, which is a great thing, because that means we're getting more people into the department. Graduated 7 firefighters to firefighter 2 level, which is great. And we have 2 new recruits. That actually number, because we just took another one in, that's going to be 3 new recruits that will be enrolled in firefighter 1 in the summer of 2026.
What does that bring your total to?
So that would bring our total up to 48. The increase that we're looking for of $5,000 is roughly, it works out with the juniors and everything that we train, it would be roughly $670 a year to train, to keep training each firefighter.
Per firefighter?
Per
That sounds-
firefighter. Technical is a line that the everyday supplies come out of, whether it be speedy dry at motor vehicle accidents. So speedy dry a few years ago was about $8 a bag. Right now it's about almost $15 a bag. So speedy dry, we use that at all motor vehicle accidents, oil spills, fuel spills. So we use on the average 2 to 3 bags for something, a minor motor vehicle accident, and we've used all the way up to 30 bags for a major motor vehicle accident. Depends on how far the car went down the road and leaked out, and we have to absorb all the oil and everything else. The other thing is flares. For whether we're at a motor vehicle accident, we need to put flares out, or for wire down calls and storm related issues. Also the foam that goes on the trucks, the Class A and Class B foam that we use for structural firefighting and car fires come out of that line, and then plug and dike and stuff like that.
Sean, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just going back to the training, are there federal or state grants that can help offset the costs of training for?
I'd have to look into that. I don't know
Okay.
that answer.
Okay. Might be worth
Also,
it.
I'm just going back also, the math isn't working for me. This $5,000, $670 per firefighter comes times 40 some odd firefighters is
So you got
30,000.
45 firefighters right now, and you got 7 juniors.
It's a different price. Juniors aren't,
So the juniors do the same firefighting training, with the exception of Fire 1 and Fire 2,
So-
that
So the
we
price,
do.
the price per firefighter is
I just did-
$670
I
and
didn't-
it increased by $5,000.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm
Not
sorry.
5,000.
No, not
I think I thought the
5,000.
5,000 increase, it
No,
was
no,
like
no, I'm sorry,
$16.5
$5,000
and it
total.
was, the math
No,
wasn't working there. Okay,
Sean,
thank you.
I know just, because I'm a wildland firefighter for the state, and I know the state, does a lot of work through the forestry division with structural firefighters who also volunteer to do in-state wildfire response or out-of-state. And there's state-funded trainings for those purposes, because there's a mutual benefit there. It might be worth looking into if there are broader, more structurally oriented trainings that the state or Fed supplement. Because all of the funding that helps the state do those trainings comes from the federal government, or the vast majority of it. So there might be resources out there.
So what happens is, we have a Valley Fire School,
Okay.
and the Valley Fire School usually goes and gets those types of grants to offset, so
Okay.
I think firefighter 1 is capped at, they got $1,150 or $1,200 per student. So that's where
So this
the
actually
majority of that money
reflects.
goes into that.
Okay, this
Karen,
actually
Yeah,
reflects.
so it's not coming to an individual department.
Okay.
You're all, it depends on the town you're in, like we're in the Valley School,
Okay,
so that's where we are.
thank you.
Karen, can we impose on the commission to do a little bit of legwork on that? Because I know every now and then across my desk, I'll see something about a fire department related grant type thing. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know this is a very minor amount, but I don't understand about needing programs and publicities for senior centers and care facilities. I have, it says.
So, I'm sorry,
Where is that,
under-
Amy?
Under 54710, I totally understand giving fire prevention education materials to children
right.
and daycares, but I don't understand giving it to senior centers and care facilities. At least not care facilities.
So you're not doing the little red fire hats to the seniors, and that's what you're asking for.
But that might be
It sounds like fun.
So that line, let me just jump ahead.
I mean, my father has been now at Coachman Square for almost 3 years, and I don't think there's been any kind of education event, nor would he benefit from it
So
at this point.
right, so we used to do in the senior center, so the senior center, it's something we actually, that line's gotta come out, that, we used to, it shouldn't be, it should be the seniors. That line, we were, buying little red fire hats, crayons, badges for the kids, fire
Yeah.
prevention that we do, that
get
we
that.
see over 1,000 kids a year. We also had a program where that line used to be 7,500 and got cut down to 5,000. We used to do CO detectors and smoke alarms that we used to hand out, and we had a program that we'd go to seniors that they couldn't replace it or they had issues, and we would replace some of their smoke detectors or carbon monoxide detectors. And if we went to somebody's house and their carbon monoxide detector was bad, we'd carry them on the trucks and we'd swap them out so they had something. So since then, over the last 2 years, we do not run that program anymore.
Okay. So it's just a matter of the wording.
Yes.
That's all. Thank you.
Yep. Gear replacement, so we're looking for a 7% increase in this. 7% increase is one set of fire gear. Gear is extremely expensive. It's over $5,000 for a set of gear. And gear has a shelf life of 10 years. So 10 years, the gear has to be replaced. That doesn't mean the gear lasts 10 years. So if they're exposed to flame impingement on their gear and their gear turns color, would be red, the gear is immediately taken out of service and we have to replace it. It cannot be fixed, it cannot be redone, it's just out of service, and it's garbage. The other thing is, and we have a bunch of new recruits coming in, which is a really good thing too, but they can't be in gear that's more than 10 years old, and they have to have fit gear, meaning it can't be red, can't be oversized, it has to fit their body, and it needs to meet all the OSHA, NFPA regulations.
Any questions? All right.
Machinery, gas meters, and pagers. So this is, these are the meters that we've replaced. We replaced 10 of them. We need to replace another 7 of them this budget year. We tried to get all of them for this budget year. We just couldn't make it. The meters are failing constantly. So the new meters should be in any day now. The pagers on the right, those are called unication pagers. So every single firefighter has one of these pagers, and that's how they're alerted when there's a call, on top of getting a phone call on it and everything else. But that pager is an instant way to notify everybody. Capital budget, unless you guys have questions on operating. Okay. Capital, the HVAC system, which Nigel and Dwight are gonna do a presentation on. They had somebody come in, going through all the HVAC equipment at the facility, so it's a rough estimate of roughly $600,000. If you go back to operating, we just got our SCG bill, just so to put it in perspective. We could save money on UI and SCG and Spark Energy, but our SCG bill this month went up from last year, this time, went up 391%. So we're having trouble controlling the heat using the BMS system, the building management system. So the heat's basically on, or it's off, or it's cold in some rooms, it's warm in the other room, and there's no way to control it. So the system's just dated and it needs to be replaced. And there's some other equipment that needs to be fixed within the building. So there's gonna be more to come on this. I wouldn't act on this right now until you get a actual presentation from that committee.
But the way it's in our materials, it would be
$100,000.
$100,000 a year?
Right, so we'll have to adjust that when we go through the process, budget process.
Okay.
Air packs, this is year 4, year 5 of it. So for these we had to replace 10 of the air packs. They were up every 15 years, so it's another $22,000. Radio communications upgrade, this is year 4 or 5 for $112,000. These are all the portable radios and truck radios. Engine 9, it's the lease payment for Engine 9, which was delivered to the department in spring of '24. Engine 9 responds to all motor vehicle accidents and is the pumper for fires. And that payment's $228,000. Our last payment is in FY '29.
Okay, but the ones you just went through, a couple of them are already in the capital budget.
Right.
Those
Those are
right?
annual,
So
those are
when you say
annual.
it's year 4 and 5,
Correct.
That's
in
how it
terms of the
reflects in the capital
cadence,
budget.
yeah, it's not an increase on the
No.
capital
No,
budget.
correct.
Okay. It's a continuation. Thank you.
Car 21, this vehicle is the chief's vehicle. This vehicle we don't drive anymore. It's basically parked. What happens is, as you're driving down the road, the whole dash and everything shuts off and the emergency lights shut off. It's a bad wiring harness. It hasn't been driven. I haven't driven it since July, basically. We drive it around here and there, but it's dangerous from when you're responding to a call and you have no dash, or you're driving down the road, you have a dash, and then all of a sudden you have no dash, and then if you're during the day, you don't know if the emergency lights are on or off.
How old is it?
2017.
And you don't think it's fixable?
So when we asked the dealer and we asked the mechanics, they said just to get rid of the vehicle because you could replace the wiring harness, which would probably be about $8,000. Car's not worth it, and there's no guarantee that.
It's been over a year with this issue.
This car's been in the budget. Car 22 is a 2011 Suburban. It's got over 120,000 miles on it. The car is just rotting away, and we just replaced 2 batteries in it the other day, late yesterday, and it's just, the car isn't gonna make it, the car won't make it probably another year.
Chief, was car 21 new when
When it was purchased,
Yeah.
yes.
That's crazy for that to happen in such a short period
The
of
car,
time.
the
isn't
car
it?
is 9 years old. The other car is
Well, yeah,
15 years old now.
but you said you've been having that electrical issue for at least a year.
Yeah, since last year.
For
That's
only
budget.
70,000 miles, I would
Right.
expect a
Yeah.
lot more out of a vehicle.
We did, I mean.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying that's
It's out of
That's-
warranty, and
that's disappointing.
it is,
It's just you're at the point where you're gonna throw good money after bad. and-
Yes,
Yeah.
no, I totally understand the logic and the request. It's
So-
Maybe you don't
Right
buy a
now-
Chevy Suburban again.
yeah.
The Suburbans actually have worked out much better than the Fords.
Yeah.
You said your chief's vehicle is a Chevy Suburban.
It
Yeah.
is.
Um,
It's a fluke.
And are these used exclusively for response,
Yeah.
emergency response, or are they personally used?
Well, these two vehicles are personally used, like on the weekend or whatever, if you're out, because
If you get a call.
if you get a call, you gotta go.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Squad 4, this is a 1996 F-350. This truck is 30 years old.
It looks
This year.
great, honestly.
Looks great. We're having oil leaks. Well, these trucks sit inside too, so stays out of the weather. Oil leaks. We're having issues mechanically with this truck. We need to replace this truck in the very near future. This truck is, 30 years out of a pickup truck is,
Amazing.
I don't know really much more to say on that.
And what is it used for?
That truck, you can even see it in the back. It holds barricades at a fire or at a motor vehicle fire. We throw all the dirty equipment in the back of it to transport it back. And it's a utility truck, a squad truck. The guys get in it, they go, got a block of road. This is a truck we use. This truck gets used every single call. It's just about. AEDs, we need to replace 9 AEDs this year. Some of our AEDs are beyond its useful life. They're not reliable anymore, and we need to replace those. So that's what that number is. Hydrant painting, so we've had a lot of complaints over the years. This was in the budget last year also. So the hydrants, if you drive around, they're really bad, they're really rusty and everything else. And there's a company that would come in, this is a quote from last year at $84,000, so I'm sure it's a little bit more, but they would come in, strip the hydrant down and repaint the hydrant for us. And I've had a lot of requests on why this can't be like an Eagle Scout project,
Yeah.
which would be great. And we did that back in the mid-90s. The problem is the hydrants have to be stripped down, and we need somebody to come in because we don't know if there's lead paint on the hydrant. So that would open a whole nother can of worms.
But then moving forward, Eagle Scouts could do it because you would know there would
Sure.
be no lead paint.
So would they strip it down, get rid of all the existing paint before
would.
they repaint it
Yeah,
like this time?
there's a machine that actually goes on the front of a machine that comes over, and it's got big wire brushes, and it cleans it right out. And then
And
it
then-
strips it right down, they prime it, and then they paint it.
And hopefully pick it up and don't leave it on the ground, the chips, I'd imagine.
Right.
The scrape.
Yeah, they come in with a
Yeah.
containment system and everything. Radio sites, so a month ago, the board approved a UPS at one of the radio sites at RWA. So that is getting replaced, that site, they have a loaner unit in place, we're waiting on ours to come in. These are out of warranty, and per our radio people, vendor, all these UPSs need to be replaced. So the deal with the UPSs and why are they important is because if a UPS if we lose power at one of these sites, which we do commonly, if we don't have power, the radio will drop off, and then when the generator comes on, the radio site might not come up, and we have to have our radio people go out and reset the site, repower everything back on and reset it. And if it does drop off, we wouldn't know if it comes back up for minimum of 45 minutes for everything to reboot. So we're looking for UPSs that will hopefully just kick on for 10, 15 seconds max before the generator kicks on. So we eliminate that. Otherwise, we have to have a radio people come out, reset it, and that could take 3 or 4 hours to reset a site, and that's a bad thing. So these UPSs are, need to be upgraded this year.
And what kind of backup power do they provide? I'm a little confused when you talk about the generator.
So
this
each
is like a
radio site has a
battery.
generator.
Right.
So the UPS is a battery.
Right.
So when you lose power, everything goes out. The battery would kick on and bridge the gap from losing power to when the generator kicks on.
Okay, and that's your goal is to have that minimized to 15 seconds.
We have to, yes.
It also can provide protection in terms of any kind of surges and things of that nature.
Correct. Good point.
Okay.
And then, like I
How
said,
long do the generators last? What's the supply?
so it all depends. Some of the generators will last up to a week on propane. And
Depends what your propane supply is, right?
well, usually we have 1,000-gallon tanks.
Okay.
So we carry quite a bit. And then the site on Litchfield Turnpike is a 250-gallon diesel tank, which we have a diesel transfer pump where if we needed fuel, we'd get it down here, bring it up there and pump it into the tank and keep the generator running, which we've done in the past.
Okay. I'm just thinking of a hurricane.
Yep.
That's what got me asking.
Okay, so this is the same slide as before. In capital also, this is the next truck up, engine 2. As you can see, the paint peeling off of it. It's a 2002 E1, first attack piece, 1,500 GPM pump. It's got a CAF system on it, compressed air foam system. And a new truck would be a 3-year build time for an engine. So we have a couple different avenues to do here. Let me just grab my sheet. So engine 2, I don't have my thing right in front of me. I think it was around $1.3, $1.4 million. The option we have with this truck, guys, is we could actually save some money if we wanted to go this route. This truck is actually, the motor is actually in pretty good shape, and the structure of this truck is in pretty good shape. It needs to be basically, like we talked about like a week ago, being repowered and new paint, new wiring harnesses, and that would probably cost us in the area of about $800,000 compared to 1.3, 1.4 million. And that process would take roughly 8 months to a year, which is kind of a little bit bad for us because we'd be out without a truck for 8 months to a year. But it's also saving probably at least $500,000 to build a new one, and we would have it in roughly a year compared to waiting 2 to 3 years for a new truck.
But how
And
long
we
would it
don't-
last?
This truck doesn't meet the emissions, so this is, doesn't have the DEF tank on it, all the new emission standards that the new trucks have.
I mean, it doesn't need to,
Doesn't need to, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have it.
but how long would it last? You know, because
It would
the other
probably-
factor of the
right,
money is
so
what
it
do you,
it
how
would
many
probably
years you
last
get?
us 18 years.
Does it come with any warranty, Sean? Doing that kind of work?
I think it depends on what we do. We'd have to research it more. I don't have all those answers, but
Okay.
I'm more looking, this truck needs to be, if we're gonna buy a new one, we need to start the spec now. The spec would take us probably 6 months to come up with. We go out to bid, we get the bid back, we look for your approval, we'd order it, and we'd see this truck probably closer to, I'm gonna say 30 months to 3 years. And then our first payment would be 4 years, so when engine 9 comes off of payment, this truck would roll on. That's the goal.
Thank you.
We don't have anything in the budget for that, in the capital budget for engine 2.
No, so it's in the budget now, so this is the next truck we have to work on. And it's not like we can wait, because this truck is, it's 24 years old. We usually have failures at 24 to 25 years. Usually 24, we have major failures. But if we were to build a new one, we're looking at a long 3-year build time, plus if we pay it in arrears, be paying for it when the other truck comes off a lease and this one would come on. If we were to do the other way, we would save money, but we would have another payment when the other truck we're still paying for.
But
That
why
makes
would you have
sense.
to do that? If you said the lead time to fix the truck would be just 1 year, why wouldn't you do it in the year before 2030? It just can't last.
The truck is 24 years, it's not gonna last. I don't think, even if we were to leave this truck how it is, I'm hoping we're gonna get the 3 years out of it before we get the new truck, but I can't guarantee you that.
But what I'm saying is, if you go the route of rebuilding it, after 2 years, you would spend the year 3, right? For a new truck, you would spend instead rebuilding the existing truck. And then the payment time would be match, would still be the same. When you said to start, maybe you'd be a year in advance of having to start paying for it, but you'd be closer from a dollar perspective, is what I'm saying, in evening things out.
We would, I can't tell you this truck is gonna last 26 years before we,
I understand, but
Do
even
that.
if we
If you
ordered a
ordered
new
one, it's
truck
gonna-
next year.
if we ordered
Still gonna
one,
have to-
we're in the same boat, but,
Yeah.
Cross our fingers and hope.
right.
I understand the decision needs to be made. I'm just trying to think, if the decision is made that we would try to keep this truck and redo it, you would maybe still try to delay the redo, and so to even out the payments from the
So
capital.
if we were to redo this truck, when I say 8 months to a year, that's the actual work that's needed to
I
redo
understand.
it. That doesn't, when we do something like this, there's also probably a 6-month lead time on getting parts.
Okay,
So it's not, I don't want you, when I said the 8 months to a year, that's the time in the actual shop redoing the truck, but there is a time constraint by getting all the equipment that is needed for that truck.
but if you're thinking about the fact that you have to order a truck 3 years in advance, right? And go 3 years after you've ordered it without the truck, you're sitting with this old truck, which could break down.
I
So
completely
maybe-
understand
so
what you're
maybe-
saying,
I'm just trying, you're gambling either way, right? That the truck will keep going for a while, and then the question is, when do you, if you've decided that you're gonna refurbish the
Hopefully we don't
existing
have a
truck,
truck
when do
that
you do it?
fails,
Yes.
and we're being a little proactive, because we already know
The
some of our
decision
facts.
has to be made.
Yes, the
sooner
decision
is
has
what
to
I'm
be
saying.
made sooner than later, yes.
That's what I'm saying. The
Yes.
decision has to be made, and then those are
Absolutely.
the two scenarios.
Thank you.
Tower one, we talked about, and that's it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Up next, we have Dr. Byers and Terry from Amity.
I just want to say, I don't know if it was presented, but overall, the fire commission's operating budget was less than 1% of an increase proposed. I don't know that because we went into so much detail about the line items, I don't know that bigger picture, broader stroke was ever
No,
discussed.
It's increased $100,000 per year in the last 2
Yes.
years, and
Well, that's good
the
for the
radio.
audience.
It was,
Yeah, that's what I mean. I just wanted the audience to know
Some
that,
people are-
despite
some
that
people are
level of
listening.
scrutiny and
that's a very good point.
yeah. I appreciate seeing such a small number, a percentage there.
We've got no signal here.
Yeah, we're not plugged in yet.
Okay.
having Carrie and I here. I have my idea on Jen Byers, superintendent for the school district, and Terry Lewis is our director of finance, and we are happy to present our budget this evening.
Thank you for your flexibility in changing the date, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, no problem.
Thank you for waiting.
So I always begin my budget presentations to our town finance committees the same way, with just a reminder that our budgeting process for a regional school district is governed by state statute. And one of the key words that they use in the state statute is that it's an estimate, primarily because we start in about September, and that's for the school year that is going to happen in September later. And there's a lot that can change with kids and with schools over the course of a year. We base our budget essentially on the vision of the district, which is to improve our instruction, to make sure that we are efficiently using the resources we have. In other words, wisely spending the money that comes from our taxpayers, and then creating a supportive climate for both our students and adults. We also build our budget with the end goal of our Portrait of the Graduate, which is what we want our students to be able to do upon leaving Amity Regional High School, and essentially having the skills for success in either college or career. As I mentioned, we start the budgeting process in September. We have a couple things that pretty much guide the foundation of the budget. The first are contractual obligations, which occupy a significant portion of our budget, as well as the federal and state mandates that we have to budget for. And then we can factor in our school and our department requests. From about November and all the way through really February, we work collaboratively to either find possible areas of reductions, to try to eliminate any redundancies we have. We do a lot with our 5-year capital plan, our 5-year textbook plan, and our 5-year technology plans to see if we can't stretch the dollars out or maybe postpone things until a different budget year so we can keep it fairly level. Ultimately, I start with a recommended budget in January to the Amity Finance Committee, and I come out to the town finance committees. We look for feedback, we look for any input, and then I will present to the Board of Education formally in February. They will adopt their budget in March, and then it goes to referendum in May. Budget drivers for Amity are probably no different than the budget drivers you saw for Beecher. It's contractual salary increases for pretty much for all of our bargaining units. Our medical benefits, we do have a strategic plan that guides the decisions we make when we decide to add or to change programming. We do have a significant decline in debt service that's actually helping us to be a little bit unusual in this budget world this year. Transportation, technology, pupil services, which is special education, personnel requests, which are related to that strategic plan. We have a stable enrollment. It goes up 66 students, but that really isn't enough to make us need, it's different than an elementary district, right? 66 kids, you're probably looking to add maybe a class in one of the grade levels. It's a wash for us to increase by 66 students. There's always unfunded state mandates, and they always come in July when the session is over, and then you're like, great, now we have to pay for those. And we are still very unclear on what the federal revenue will be for us coming with new bills. We do get about $1.4 million from the federal government, or we have in the past, and so that's that helps to offset the cost to the towns, and we're just not sure where that lands going forward. So when we talk about our contractual increases versus our budget increases, the blue line is the contracts for primarily teachers, but also paraeducators, secretaries, custodians. The orange line is the budget increase that we're asking for. So when 75% of our budget is tied to the contracts, I always say we're having a good year if the contracts are higher and we can still bring in a budget that's lower. It means we're finding ways to save money in other areas. That is primarily going to be in debt service, and we'll explain why in a little bit. But that's kind of where we stand for the 27 budget. Our health insurance, we maintain a reserve of 18%. We are self-funded. That's a moderate reserve. We do work with consultants to try to determine this. They come in and they give us advice every year. So we opt for the moderate. We are a small self-funded district, so that means we can have volatile swings one way or the other. There's rather famously, if you look in our historical data, there was one year when we only ended up using 75% of our health insurance that we had budgeted for because everybody was remarkably healthy. The past few years, we've pretty much run around 100%. This year, we're up a little higher, around 105. So it is usually pretty stable, but we can have some pretty odd swings. And then obviously, when we have a small group size, the low reserves is a bigger risk, which is why we opt for the moderate reserve funding. Our strategic priorities, first and foremost, we really want to continue support for the comprehensive programming that we already have in humanities and STEM and art and dual enrollment classes and working on our portrait of the graduate. But there are three things that we are working on that are driving personnel requests. The first is that we are revising and rolling out a new schedule at the middle school that is going to increase student choice in world language. It would increase opportunities for kids to take electives instead of being pigeonholed into very specific life arts courses. And it would also increase health and PE, mostly the PE part. All of those choices were made based on feedback that we received from students, parents, and teachers. We are looking to increase our opportunities for dual enrollment courses and the development of career pathways for our high school students. Dual enrollment, just so that everybody understands, is an Amity course. It's taught by an Amity teacher, but that Amity teacher is also certified at a university. And the student is enrolled in both Amity, earning high school credit, but also they are enrolled in the college, earning college credit. And when they have that college, they actually receive a college transcript. It transfers to the colleges they go to. And so it's a cost savings really for their parents ultimately, because now they have college credits that are actually counting towards graduation. And so we've been working really hard to increase those as the cost of colleges keeps rising tremendously. And then we are looking to add some support for implementing curriculum that we've been working on revising really for the past 4 years. So the debt service, like I said, this is where we're getting the significant savings. It's decreasing by 41% from the current fiscal year to fiscal year 27. So you can see in the yellow current year and next year. I have a green arrow next to 27, 28 because we are having a plan for a bonding referendum. The plan was originally fall of 2027 until we got a memo today that said you guys are going out in fall of 2027 potentially. 26.
Right, this fall.
So we're trying to, we're going to regroup a little bit. We realize that's a huge ask for our taxpayers. I'm not sure if we can. Our biggest concern are our HVAC systems at our 2 middle schools and the roofs, but those we could probably put off for a year, but we have to really rethink this now, understanding that when you are considering to go out to bond, because I'm assuming your bond is a pretty big one, if I know what it's being used for. So anyway, that green arrow may shift a little bit. So just talking about some of the other fiscal impacts, transportation, we have 26 daily runs. Those are the ones we pay for. Remember then we have a cost agreement, and so the elementary districts pay for 22 runs that our kids still ride. So you can see how many buses we're running for the district. We run 126 special education runs, 9 late bus runs, and then over the course of the year, 667 activity runs. Those are pretty much athletic events. Overall, transportation costs are going up 8.36% for the fiscal year. Technology, really this is just at this point maintaining a one-to-one learning environment. So it's student devices, it's the management software that we need to have all of those student devices. Our infrastructure is truly at the end of life. It's actually out of warranty. So those are servers and switches and everything that kind of runs all of our, computer systems. We are looking at different options for that, but we know that that has to be replaced because without that, we're really not functional. We do get specialized lab requests. Those are for labs that the student devices just aren't powerful enough to actually run. So we are replacing a music and video production lab in this current budget, and we put that onto a 5-year capital plan, so that way we sort of do one specialty lab each year. There's a lot of software, particularly, and some things we're limited by. So like Magic School AI is the only AI program that's student data privacy approved. So it's really the only AI that students can use. So we're locked into making sure that our kids are using that platform. Promethean boards, you guys are essentially looking at like the large display. These are throughout all of our classrooms. Virtually every single instructional space has one for teaching. And then security cameras also fall into our technology budget. And we have hundreds of security cameras across our 3 campuses. Pupil services, again, so when we talk about sort of fixed cost, transportation for special education runs is going up anywhere from 7.5% to 15.5%. Tuition, and that's out of district tuition, so when kids' needs are so great we can't maintain them in Amity, that's increasing from about 4 to 14%. The salaries, which are our own staff, is the smallest increase, but contractually they're going up from 2.25% to about 3.75%. These are not actual one-to-one impact, one-to-one increases, but they help illustrate what some of the costs in special education can be. So we do know we have one student coming up from the elementary district who is already in an outplaced program. We will just absorb that cost. I have no idea which district it is, but $91,000 for an out-of-district placement. We have a student who has a one-to-one nurse in our school. We have students who require residential or hospital placements. That is actually increasing in the budget by about $470,000, given the particular needs of the kids that we have. We maintain behavioral therapists. We've actually been decreasing the number of those, but we still need them in the budget, and they can be quite expensive. And then we always have legal fees associated with special education claims. With respect to personnel, so again, in order to support the middle school schedule, we're looking to add a health and PE teacher one to each middle school, and that will really allow the health and PE to run daily over the course of the entire school year. We're looking to add one world language teacher that we can share between the 2 middle schools. So they currently share a Mandarin teacher. We would like to hopefully add a French teacher, and then that will actually provide programming 7 through 12 in 3 of our 4 world languages. We are looking to add a certified nursing assistant program that would allow students to receive their certificate as part of their high school courses. For that, we would contract with an outside agency because we need a very specific instructor to do that. We need very specific equipment, and they also offer the exam. But we're looking to create a medical fields career pathway as one of the first career pathways we have for our students. We are looking to add an additional SPED teacher. So the SAILS program is the program for our most cognitively disabled students that we have in district. We run one program at Amity Middle School Orange. There's one at the high school, and then there's 2 programs for those students when they turn 18 years old because we maintain them till they're 22. What we have happening is we have a large group of students moving from the middle school to the high school, but we have an equal number of kids coming in from the elementary schools to the middle school, so we're getting a bubble at the high school. So we're looking to add the teacher to support those students once they reach high school age. The STEM instructional coach is to support curriculum implementation. We currently have one instructional coach. She does everything, but so far our curriculum revisions have been primarily in English and in social studies and in some of our CTE and arts programs. So it's kind of been in her wheelhouse. we are in the heart of starting curriculum revision for math and science. So we would be looking to add an instructional coach who can help the implementation of the curriculum in math and science as it is written. A part-time athletic trainer, and then 2 assistant coaches for growing sports programs, 1 for girls wrestling and 1 for tennis. So as I mentioned, what we are looking at for our potential bond are HVAC replacements at both middle schools along with roof replacements. We've been talking about this a bit, the library media center renovation. We're currently working on that at the high school. We would have to see if we build that into the bond or if we continue to use our educational reserve fund to address that. But it is reimbursable from the state, so we're trying to get as much that's reimbursable into the bonding package as we can. We are looking to replace the stage lights at both the middle schools and the high school, essentially getting rid of the old incandescents and replacing them with LEDs. That should actually be a savings for us over time and will certainly be significantly safer than running hot incandescent stage lights. We are looking at options for how we can improve our athletic fields at the middle school, as well as the baseball and softball fields at the high school. We are currently replacing our PA and lockdown system at the middle schools this year. The high school will need a replacement, and given the size of the high school, it's significantly more expensive than what we've tackled at the middle schools. And then just a couple other things with the locker replacements and the flooring replacements. I always remind boards of finance that by statute, we can reserve up to 2% of funds that were not expended from this year's budget into a reserve fund. Our board adopted a policy that when they do that, it's going to be used for capital items, and they would specifically designate that at the time of the vote. We have already set aside some of that for the fire pump replacement at Amity Middle School, Bethany. We have set some aside for doing our technology infrastructure upgrades, because those are terrible things to bond for because they do not last beyond the life of the bond. And then, like I said, we've really used that to start looking at our library media center upgrades. So initially, our budget request came in at 2.97% above the current year. That's incredibly low. Again, I'll be honest, the debt service was really what was driving a lot of that. We did spend time working to reduce redundancies and requests, and ultimately have brought the budget down to a 2.21% overall increase. So again, just in summary, what it's supporting the increased academic instructional time and choice at the middle schools. It's supporting the development of the career pathways and the dual enrollment classes at the high school. We're giving some additional opportunity to advance to upper level classes in math at the high school, and then also trying to maintain our excellence in academics, athletics, and the arts. We have some support for the Trident, which is our school newspaper. It had been self-funded, but they wanted to go to an online platform and kind of come into the 21st century, so we're trying to support them with that work, the coaches for the athletic programs, the technology needs that we have. We are supporting, as I said, the curriculum and instruction through the curriculum writing, and then making sure that the curriculum as it's written is what becomes the curriculum that is taught in the classroom, providing the pupil services, special education, and the student mental health, and obviously, like I said, addressing that increasing enrollment in the sales, and then having the short and long-term facilities program. As you know, budgets are determined each year by sort of the proportionality of enrollment. So you can see how the ADM has changed in developing this budget. Bethany has the most significant increase, going up their 6 students. Orange has a decrease in enrollment, and Woodbridge does go up slightly, although not as much as you guys went up last year. So as of right now, the town allocations with the 2.21% shows Woodbridge having an increase of 2.59%. When we look at the data from across the state, the range of budgets go from 2.21, which is Amity, up to 9.8, which is somebody else, and definitely not us. So we are the lowest budget proposal in the state as of right now, and obviously still the lowest budget proposal in our Durg-B area. I will point out that we loved what Woodbridge did with ClearGov last year, and so we've adopted it this year. So our budget is available online. If you just go to the Amity website under the Board of Ed, the budget's kind of the first thing that pops up. As we make adjustments, we will keep updating that budget so you can see it in real time, so that way we don't have to keep sending you all these packets and all these changes constantly. We will continue to have that available. Lots of meetings, so you are the last. I've been to Bethany and Orange, and Woodbridge is our last. We actually have our special meeting for the Board of Ed and the Amity Finance Committee this coming Monday because it was postponed last week. So they will be able to present feedback. The really important dates is that the AFC has to make a recommendation to the board on February 23rd. The board has to make their approval of the budget on March 9th, and then the referendum to get the approval from our voters is May 5th. And so, it was short, it was brief. I'm happy to entertain questions, and if you can't quite think of any right now, what we have is a process that you can email questions through Donovan. We will maintain a document of every question that's asked and every answer that we give, and we will post that on our budget website too, so that anybody can look at the questions that are being asked by our boards of finance and by our board members, and then anybody can see the responses to those.
Dr. Byers, in terms of the additional resources, the full-time employees, the 6+, how does that compare to other years? And is it a result of having some latitude in terms of doing this? You know, that's a question that I think comes up.
Yeah, so the additional teachers primarily,
Yes.
yeah, so we have added special education teachers, a lot of times because we've added special programs, so we didn't have to send kids to out-of-district placements. So adding the special education teacher isn't unusual. All of the other instructional coaches that we've had in the district, we've repurposed, so we would have made a reduction in a department and transferred somebody to the coaching position. So this is the first, and I've never changed the middle school schedule. So I think it was serendipitous that we had these things in place in a year where we had the latitude that we could do that. It is, this is the first time I've ever added anyone who wasn't a special education teacher in a while.
I have a couple of thoughts, but first I really want to highlight a huge accomplishment of the Amity district. Amity had 8 National Merit Scholar semifinalists this year, which made the Amity district the 3rd in the state for National Merit semifinalists, and 20 additional National Merit commended students. So clearly this is an incredibly strong district. And so we should all be really proud of those accomplishments. And I think it also ties into what this budget supports, specifically, that other coach. For the PSAT and the SAT, there's certain math recommendations. Like PSATs, they want you to have pre-algebra 7 to 8 and progress through Algebra 1 and have some geometry. And for SATs, Algebra 1 and geometry, and be in your Algebra 2 course to really be best prepared. So I'm hoping that math coach will help get more students on that path, because I think more people that wouldn't necessarily have to go to an outside tutor or take an outside course to get on that track would take great advantage of that, and we could be even stronger. So that would be amazing. So thank you for considering that and putting that in the budget and using that coach to sort of reorganize the math curriculum a little bit, because I think that would be greatly received. Thank you.
Thank you.
We hear about math a lot in our Board of Ed.
Yeah, it's what we hear, and here I am way away from it. I hear that's the one item that's mentioned by most parents, mostly at Beecher, but some at the junior high school as well.
Yes, the race to calculus. So I just have a quick question about the FTE. So the middle school schedule requires is there more PE in the schedule?
Yes, so,
Okay.
so essentially what we're doing is, there's kind of, if you're familiar with the middle school schedule, right now, every kid takes math, social studies, science, English, and they all take Spanish. If you want to take Mandarin, you take it in addition to taking the Spanish. And so that was one of the pieces of feedback that parents and kids had is, why do I have to take two world languages? Can't I just pick one? So we're pulling the world language off of the team, and now kids will have a choice. Hopefully they can pick between French, Spanish, and Mandarin. And essentially what we've done is we've put health and PE onto the team. So they will have it 5 days, they will have it every day, all year long. We're just calling it health and PE, and how it gets divided between health class and PE will be sort of an internal schedule.
Okay.
But what it's driving is we essentially have to have just as many health PE teachers as we have math teachers or English teachers or science teachers. So so that's where the one extra at each school
Yeah,
comes
that's
from.
pretty hefty PE health staff at the middle school. It just seems like a lot of FTE. And then the other question, because world languages is a shortage area, like, do we think that sustaining, because it's a wonderful thing, do we think that sustaining and staffing that long term is?
I mean, I think we can. You know, we've had, so I think the hardest one for me to ever fill is a Mandarin teacher, and our Mandarin teaching staff has been there for a really long time. We have not had a tremendous amount of turnover in our world language department. Where we do have it in Spanish, because obviously we have the most Spanish teachers. My hope is that once we've added French and it's kind of gathered a little bit of steam, through attrition, we may actually be able to have reductions in Spanish teachers. I don't know what kids are going to pick, because we've never really given them this choice before, so it'll take us probably a couple of years to kind of work out where the
There's
biggest
also
bang for
a
our buck
ton of
is.
Spanish levels at the high school, so that probably stretches out your sections
Yeah.
of Spanish too. So as time goes by, some of that. Okay. And then the other question that I had, I know this came up in the Beecher Board of Ed around the school start time conversation that was just beginning, nothing, on the table. And, we saw the transportation numbers and the transportation costs. I didn't know if there had been further discussion about a transportation study, because I think we discovered that there hadn't been a transportation study since like the 90s.
Yeah, so we have not brought the feedback from the elementary districts back to our committee yet.
Okay.
So that will happen in February,
Okay.
and then we'll figure out where we go from there.
Okay. I think that
But
would-
if there's a transportation study, it's definitely not worked
It's not
into
gonna be
this
in this budget here, but I think it would probably be something to look at as far as maybe some recommendations for some cost savings, maybe. I don't know.
So to clarify, the transportation study would reveal what exactly?
So you would look at the bus routes
If you could
and the
consolidate
usage of
routes.
buses, the start times of all of the schools,
Ridership, okay.
all of those sorts of things to just see if there's potential efficiencies.
Yep.
It's likely that they have explored all of those efficiencies, but if you're gonna talk about school start times, adjusting school start times, then
Talk about it.
it's worth considering doing a transportation study along with that to see, because if you change a high school start time, you're gonna be starting to
It's a
have
good
a
point.
ripple effect on
It's,
other busing issues.
What is
Or-
it, $5.6 million of your budget? Almost 9.5% of your budget is transportation?
About it's a little over 8%, maybe 8.4% of the budget is transportation.
Transportation.
4.5 million.
Big number.
Yeah, it's a big cost. I don't know if there would be any savings, but if they were going to be doing the work and looking at start times, then
Yeah, the increases in transportation, both Beecher and Hampton.
yeah, on both ends.
Substantial, I'm looking at these numbers, what happened?
So, contracts for transportation companies, are kind of driven by the rest of the state market. And I will say, we continue to have very favorable contracts with our independent owner operators. Where we're seeing, so it's not the daily runs that are impacting us, it's the special education runs and our activity runs where we're seeing the larger increases in costs, and those aren't contractual. And every single one could be different. A special education run depends on how far the student's going, whether or not they need an aid on the bus. Sometimes we're going in the same place that a student from Beecher is going, so we can share the cost, but then sometimes we aren't. And so our transportation swings are really not in the everyday big bus runs, but in kind of everything else that we use the buses for.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So the first is feedback from campaigning. Met a number of parents who had concerns about what they described, and I won't have the proper lingo, but what I understood to be that at least at the middle school, there was less, there was mainstreaming of sciences as opposed to being able to offer equivalent to advanced placement for students in the center, in that. And they were very upset about that. Could you explain what's going on and whether you all have heard feedback and if there's any adjustments in light of feedback?
So what we've been doing is unleveling classes in everything but math. So essentially it means that students are in a heterogeneous class with a mix of students with different abilities. It doesn't mean that they're not academically ready for advanced work. Oftentimes students, just like kids walk at different ages, kids' ability to be ready to learn and available to learn is going to differ. And so the idea behind unleveling is to make sure we're not sentencing students when they're 11 years old to a track that's only going to get them so far in high school and ultimately so far in post-secondary work. We only started science and social studies this year, so I don't have any data coming out of it because the year is still young. But we did start unleveling in Spanish and in English last year, last year. So I have 1 year's worth of data. So 1 year's worth of data doesn't really tell you anything. But what we're actually finding is that the targeted growth for the students who are most advanced has increased from when they were in homogeneous leveled classes.
So you're saying that the more advanced students are advancing more in
Yes.
these heterogeneous classes?
Yes.
Because that is, you would have to definitely give that feedback to parents, because that is not,
That's not what I'm hearing.
not what I'm, yeah.
Who is an advanced student.
Thank you.
And dealing with this and not happy about it.
Yeah.
So, but that's one child, so.
Yeah.
And I was just told that this was a pilot program. Can you speak to that, or is this indefinite?
No, this is I would say indefinite.
Okay.
Okay, because
But yes, I mean, particularly if the data continues to trend in the way that it did, at least from last year.
Yeah, well,
we're
as you said, 1 year of data
Yeah,
isn't
it's
reliable. So.
yeah.
There's really not a lot of middle schools that.
Well,
I think
Amity is
I think Amity was
distinguished.
the only. But I think Amity was the only middle school in the state that was
Yes.
leveling to the degree that it was. It had an outdated, junior high school model, and when you look at some of the leveling that shifts to tracking the outcomes for kids are not as good as they are as when you give middle school learners
I
a
struggle-
differentiated environment.
I struggle to understand that because as one of the only schools that did it, it was always one of the best schools in the state. And so that logic doesn't add up to me. I'm a product of that school, as I know you are, and I certainly benefited from the leveling, and I know my parents really appreciated it, because specific needs were able to be catered to in a way. But change is hard for people, and especially with lack of information. I didn't even hear of it as a parent and as a taxpayer until I started campaigning and the concerns were raised. So for whatever feedback that.
Yeah. I would just add, I talked specifically, for example, to someone whose oldest child had gone through with what she considered the advantage of leveling, and then as her new child is coming in through the system, that's not available, and deep concerns about the differences in how their two children are being educated, those two children. So I would urge you to offer more communication to parents about what's going on and why and what the data is, and really listen to their concerns, because I think nothing that, people were unhappy about the tax situation in town, but this is what really mattered, I would say. This was what hit people at their hearts when we talked to them. So I would urge you to work on communication at a minimum. The second question I have is about the fields. You may recall that the field in Woodbridge ended up being highly controversial at the end. You're talking about doing middle school fields. I would urge again, communications with the communities. That's not going to direct Woodbridge directly physically, but given our experience with that, I think you need to be considerate about people's environmental considerations way up front about anything you're going to do with the fields. And the last is bonding. I appreciate you're not wanting to be doubling up with us, but the fact is that the taxpayers are going to have to know what's coming down the pike. I happen to have been sitting in this same room 25 years ago when the whole decisions about rebuilding the middle schools had to be made. I know it was a very big number. I expect that when you're talking about upgrading these buildings 25 or so years later, there's some pretty big numbers. We really need to advise people what you're thinking about before they ever vote on a bonding issue that might affect Woodbridge only, because I think people deserve to know. And the surest way to get people upset is to look like, oh, we're just not going to mention that because, let's let the taxpayer do one thing and then, oh, here's the next one. I mean, that's a sure... That's robbing Peter to pay Paul. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So if you have those on the radar, which I can only imagine you would because of the age of the buildings, I would urge you to make that communication strong from the moment you're thinking about it, even if you don't have detailed numbers. If you only have ranges or you only have thinking about what might be in or not be in the bonding. Because I think the residents need to know. And I don't know what Bethany and Amity are facing in terms of their and Orange are facing in their potential bonding, but they need to know too.
It's on page 125 of your budget book, and it's pretty detailed.
Okay,
and
but
so so the suggestion is taken, but yeah, we've already got
is a
pretty.
textbook purchase.
Okay, so if it's on page 125, my point is it ought to be communicated to everybody. And certainly that has to be something that's because this is textbook purchase plans. So yeah, okay, so the capital project you're saying is over $51 million. And I just think that people need to know that, and I think it's we're the few people who watch this, besides the one sitting here, now have heard it, but it needs to be broadcast much more clearly, and I think even if you had a couple of forums about it, it would be helpful for people to understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a remark, I have to say, most of the people I spoke with when I was out campaigning really were very much more concerned about the taxes. And to that end, that's one of the reasons I bring up the full-time employee numbers, and just because that seems to be what, so far, folks who have given me feedback, who have looked at, apparently seen your presentation from your groups at the school, have indicated, is that truly a need of the school at this point in time, or is that something that we have some latitude to in think in a different way? So, but they're obviously concerned about the overall cost. It's a much better number than we anticipated, I will say, in terms of the budget increase, but it's that was the one area that I received some feedback on in terms of public.
Okay. Yeah,
Thank you.
And if the number is better largely in part because of the decrease in debt services, and then we're facing a $51 million bond, what is this going to be like next year or the year after? So I don't want that low number to be deceptive, at least psychologically, in our budget decision making, because with 51 million bonded, plus if that goes through, think of what we're looking at in the not so distant future.
If
I
I could
think
just
all of
add
that is, you know, it's fair, everyone's concerned about, you- our taxes and what the overall rate is gonna be, but at the same token, you know, the community has been asking for the math pathway and the tracking to be
Yeah.
fixed for years, and this provides a way to do it.
Yeah.
And
Curriculum infrastructure, so what you're talking about as far as adjusting
I know,
with
there's multiple
levels,
needs.
that's curriculum infrastructure.
Yeah.
You
Someone
have
has
to
to
do
do
it.
that. Yeah, someone has to
requires
do that
work.
work.
Yeah.
Did I say we don't have
Yeah.
to do it, Lauren?
No.
Okay.
I was just saying, like, to your point about, you know, some of these pieces that have shifted as far as educational models that are important for
Yeah.
students to grow, having the curriculum infrastructure in place to make sure you have the staff doing the work. You know, teachers are involved in curriculum development, but they need support. They're teaching students all
course.
day and have prep time, and so the big, large-scale curriculum development needs a broader curriculum infrastructure in the school, which I would say, you know, Amity has been short-staffed on that. It's very hard to move that work when you don't have that kind of staff. So I think to your point, I think that those are definite needs. Some of the scheduling pieces and things like that are other, you know, just tricky things to try to update the model. So I see that. I know that seeing 6 FTE is a big number for an increase in staffing, but I do recognize the educational needs as far as where the district is going for what's in the best interests of our kids and having a high-performing district, because it is aligning itself with what other high-performing districts around the state are doing as far as their staffing and models.
And how many electives they're offering and how many languages other districts offer, so
Right.
it really is bringing us in line with.
Could I make one more request? You mentioned that some of what you do with, I'll call it leftover money, I know that's not the term you use, but you put it into capital projects. The 2% you can set aside rather than return it. Could you give us, I would at least appreciate seeing for the past, say, 5 years or whatever, and anticipated for this year, if you have some anticipated expenditures, what those are. Because when I look at this future bond project, some of them are in the $80,000 range. And I want to understand what you have been investing in and how much you've been invested in through that fund versus, you know, what you're prospectively bonding.
Can we email, because I'm gonna forget something, so can I give you, and we have it as a list, can I
No, that's
email
fine.
that to Donovan and make sure he distributes it to all of you?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I
Sure.
just think it's good for information for us to understand in terms of what your capital projects investments have been for the last several years, and then to better understand what remains.
Yep, no, we absolutely can do that.
Okay.
I just don't have it
That'd be fine.
right
Thank
off
you.
the top of my head.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to. I was asking for it to be provided, not for you to do a litany right off the top. It wasn't meant to be a memory test.
If I could just comment on the $50 million, that is before any state reimbursement, so I've been trying to parse out which projects would be eligible, and right now I think it'd be around 36 million, which is still, I know, a very large number, but not 50 million, but we wouldn't have to bond for 50 million. The projects might cost 50 million, but we would have some of those projects are eligible for state reimbursement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any updates you have on that would also be very helpful, you know, to the community as a whole, I think. Yeah, in terms of what the actual bonding numbers would be. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Amy, do you mind expanding on the environmental issue you mentioned with the fields?
So, used a particular artificial substance for the, I believe it was the football fields. And this was a huge issue when I was deputy commissioner and then commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection before it became DEEP. And it was also it resurfaced as an issue for Woodbridge in particular a few years ago. The issue is you use artificial turf, which has its advantages in terms of reliability. You don't have to deal with mud, you know, with rain issues, and you'll be able to better explain it than I can. but there are concerns about volatile organic compounds in the strong sun being released by these artificial materials and being inhaled by players.
Leached into water.
And then there are also corollary concerns about when there is moisture that there is leaching of, I don't know if it's VOCs or other things as well. PFAS getting into, yeah, when I was doing it, it was volatile VOCs. Now it's PFAS getting into the water. And people particularly were concerned because of the reliance in so much of our community on well water. But PFAS now is it regulated yet? It's something that EPA has been looking at for years.
I don't think it is.
Making it regulated, and so there's a real concern.
a lot of discussion
It's
on
what's known as forever chemicals. They don't degrade, so there was a lot of concerns about that. And a few members of our community sort of became aware of it and tried to make it, raise a concern and petition about it, but it was very late in the game. So I just think it's better to be upfront with the community and be sure they have a time to understand it rather than have it come up.
Later on, the liability issue.
Well, and just, it just was, there was I don't know if there was a concern of a lack of forthrightness on part of Amity, but there was this, it's a perennial issue. People find out about something and they say, why didn't somebody tell me? So I know it was a big issue in Woodbridge. I'm just considering that it may be useful to better be out front. This is what we know about these environmental considerations as we are looking at what to do with our fields, and better to explain to people what you've looked at rather than wait for them to come to you and say, why didn't you tell me about X, Y, and Z? So it's human nature and I think they are legitimate concerns. At the time, our senator, our attorney general, now our senator, was extremely concerned about VOCs from fields. So these are concerns that are legitimate in nature, and it's better to present the considerations up front. That's all I'm suggesting.
Anybody else? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we take a break for a couple minutes?
Sure.
Mika, I do need to leave by 9. I think we'll be able to.
Last item on our agenda is the Board of Selectmen budget. I'm sure you've all looked at it, so I'll go over it quickly, just to give you some of the highlights in terms of some of the differences. Obviously, from a salary perspective, it's a 2.5% increase on the salaries. Buyback sick is just the mix of the staff, and the changes in the staff brings that down a bit. Professional services, the dollars we budgeted last year for, particularly for the town planner, is a little less than we were able to secure the services at a lesser rate. So that declines a bit. We did increase town council charges by about the same amount. Litigation fee is kind of is an interesting one, because we did increase it by 872, but the reality is, along the lines of what we were talking about when we were speaking to Chief Rowland, is we anticipate that this is going to be higher than what the number is here. It's going to be a bit higher. We've got, for example, right now, in terms of where we are from a budget standpoint with our litigation fees, we budgeted if you look here, we budgeted about
86,000.
86,000.
Yeah.
And we are right now, there's 10,000 that we've allotted to begin the charter revision. And that leaves us about $8,000 in the budget. And we've gone through most of the other money. We've also got 3 lawsuits that are pending right now, so I anticipate that number could be larger, but rather than putting it in the budget like this, what we've done is we've increased the amount that we have in contingency. But we've kept the amount higher. We had a higher amount in contingency for a couple of years, primarily because we were working on the police budget. I'm sorry, the police contract.
Correct, yeah.
And we knew we were going to have back pay.
Correct.
So we kept it higher. So we're keeping the contingency at that level. So we're not increasing it, but we're considering additional funding for things like this that might be required. So that's where the monies would come from, and that would be about $20,000 more for the charter revision, and then the additional dollars associated with another $30,000 is what we would have put in for the litigation, for additional litigation.
Excuse me, may I
What-
just ask you a question? I thought
Please.
there was money put aside last fiscal year for charter,
We have 10,000 in this budget.
just in this budget.
This,
Correct.
like current. No, I'm sorry. When I say this budget, 26.
This current year.
26 current year.
And then are you
yes.
putting in another 10 or
We're
any more in?
we're figuring on another 20 for 27.
Okay, all right,
Yes.
thank you. I just
Mhm.
want to understand that, okay.
Does this have anything to do with the fire department? For some reason, I thought you mentioned Chief.
I only
Roland.
remember what we were talking about. He wanted to put the maintenance thing.
Yeah.
He wanted to do 71, even though he was going to go with 16.
Oh,
And we
okay.
Talked about putting in a contingency. That's the tack that we took in terms of this.
Okay, I
You know,
just, for a moment,
rather
got
than-
confused that
yeah.
there was a
No overlap.
litigation related to something else. Okay, thank you.
No, please,
Sorry.
No more.
Yes, agreed. Okay.
Next item on the advertising and legal, it's the costs to publish notices, which are still required by law. There's a couple of things actually along this lines. We as a group, as a Board of Selectmen with the last term, we increased the number of public hearings we have, plain and simple. We're more available with POCD and some other things that we did. I anticipate having that type of transparency and that type of collaboration with the public going forward. So we feel like we will be spending more money in terms of public notices. The legislators are looking at this currently. I think they're going to take it up in this particular session, but it's not anything that we can be assured on. So we expect that it'll probably continue to be required by law, and that's the reason for the increase as far as that's concerned. Printing and I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
about that? Chris, when she presented her budget, was talking about that there was a discount for sending out notices on a certain day.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that how significant is that savings? I mean, I'm all for using coupons, but I
don't
just,
know. It's
for
not,
the,
yeah, it's not hugely significant, but she
Okay.
just takes advantage of it.
okay.
Yeah, we
Maybe
generally
we can
do.
just,
It's also one of the reasons that, like, for example, her notices have come out on Christmas and Thanksgiving because they end up on Thursdays.
right,
And
right.
Based on taking advantage of that, that's the way it's worked out.
Yes, no, and I understand that. Maybe, however, when it's around a busy time of year or a major holiday, you know, if that savings is not, you know.
That's not the most important thing right there. Yeah, we've had that discussion.
The only thing I don't understand is, I'm all for more communication and interaction, but I mean, public hearings are a particular animal, which are, you know, legally required and need to be noticed. So I know we have our preliminary budget hearing, for example, but is there something else that you're
Sure.
anticipating in the fiscal year that is legally required public hearing?
Charter revision,
Okay.
that's to start off with. That's one of the first things the charter revision group has to do.
But that's within their budget, or are you saying that this would come out of this, their
We don't have a budget for charter revision, Tony.
So
correct
that
me if
wouldn't
I'm
come out of their
It would come
legal?
out.
That wouldn't come out of their legal costs?
No, it would come out of
Okay.
this line here.
Thank you, that's just helpful. Okay, now I understand.
Printing and binding is truly just the increased costs on the printing for what we're already doing. And they've already,
And postage.
and postage, and the increase, significant increase in postage. Professional development is, are the different groups. Now that's what I'm gonna have to go to you on.
The professional development is for attending conferences, and to the extent there are other members that like to attend the conferences, that's where that comes from.
That more participation in terms of our leadership.
Mika, sorry.
Yes,
go
no,
ahead.
please.
Well, no, if you want to continue through the line items, I had a question about the accomplishments section of this document.
Okay.
But we're close to the end of the.
Yep. Community events is pretty much self-explanatory. It's all of, that's the fund for the different events that we have and the costs associated with whether it's Earth Day or whether it's the Woodbridge Like Me Day or 6525 Day and things that we provide at that time, advertisements and materials that we may purchase. And we've established that we're doing more of that, which is a wonderful thing, particularly based on the participation levels of our residents.
And you
So
can
that's
look at,
needed.
if you look at the actual from 24 and 25, it should be pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. That is the case.
So, any questions?
Well, yeah, go ahead with the.
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
so
Then
I
I have
have two
line
questions regarding just the text above the line items. Under accomplishments of 2025 and 6, you mentioned the completed Beecher Road School feasibility study. And then under major goals for 26, 27, it says complete plan for community consideration. Can you just help me understand the
Sure.
difference?
The studies are done by our consultants.
Yep.
And once we receive those, we then have to put it we have to communicate to the public exactly what recommendations we may
Okay.
want and things of that nature, so.
So when you say complete plan, that's our consideration of the feasibility study and what we're recommending to the
Correct.
town? Okay,
Correct.
thank you. And then my only other question of under major goals and objectives, it's just a wording question, and I'm wondering if you can help me understand what you mean in the first bullet with the country club property opportunity to balance preservation and progress. I view preservation as part of progress, but usually when you talk about balancing things, they're different. Like those are separating preservation from progress. So can you help me to understand your logic there, or maybe
It
it's
could
just.
be a matter of semantics,
Okay.
progress, you could say development, you could say whatever.
I would prefer if this is reflective of the whole board. I know it's just a bullet and probably no one other than us reads this, but like I would prefer for that to be what you mean then, because preservation to me is progress. And if this is reflective of me, I'm a member of this board, I
It
just.
will go into the budget book, so
It
it's
will?
worth, it will.
It does. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have a concern about the language, it's good to speak up now.
I don't disagree that preservation could be progress, so could development, so could any number of other
Yeah,
things.
but
So,
you're
yeah.
exclusive.
So what you're saying is it's not, indication that preservation is in progress. You just want there to be a definitive reference to development.
Balance, preservation,
Well,
and development.
In development.
Usually when you use a clause, balance X with Y, the X and the Y are different things that often compete, which is why you're striving to balance. I try to balance my craving for carbs with and sugar with health and nutrition, right? So
I was thinking beyond simply development, because part of the plan that we put there was also agritourism, and, you know, included like the orchard, included different things. So there's no definitive, we haven't defined that specifically we're going to do development. So progress seemed to be a word that captured more of what could be done there than specifically development. I think development is
So
a
then
tad-
maybe we could just say leverage a former country property
Well,
opportunity for progress.
Okay.
And then it's not separating.
So what I,
Do you know
what
what
I-
what I
I'm
prefer
not
to
happy
do,
with
what I
that.
prefer to do is,
Okay.
what I'll do is I'll just change it to preservation in progress / development, or development / project.
Okay,
Okay?
I appreciate that.
No problem.
Amy, are you okay with that?
Yes, I'm all right with that. I do have a question, though, about the second one you raised. So, based on what I heard from the Amity Board of Ed superintendent, I gather that there's some idea of going out in November 2026 on the Beecher Road infrastructure project. And if that's the case, we should be more clear that that's what the major goal is.
Well, we don't know that would be the end goal, because we'd have to identify exactly what plan we want to go forward with. So the goal, from my perspective, not necessarily identifying that would be where we end up, is to develop a plan that we can present. And if that takes us to referendum, wonderful. And then we can put that depending on what happens, we can put that as a accomplishment or not the following year, but it's certainly, the referendum isn't necessarily a goal, because we don't know necessarily that that's where it's gonna end up.
So you might not do any bonding at all, is what you're
I
saying?
think we have a lot of, we need to identify more information and really come to some conclusions. If you want to ask me personally if that's my goal, yes. But if, from that perspective, I'd like to see it go to referendum so that people can decide, but I don't see a need to put that as a goal on here.
Okay, but then, and just to balance that out, I would say that we've been hearing a lot about roofs and the police department and other things, so I think there needs to be a bullet about other major capital project needs, at least, right? I mean,
Like to assess and plan?
yeah. I would suggest that just for the purposes of people reading this book, and a few people do actually read it, I would just suggest that as a balance.
Some allusion to the work that Dwight and Nigel are
Yeah.
doing.
Dwight
on
and
that.
Nigel, yeah, I mean, we heard about, almost every roof needing to be repaired. We heard about the $5 million of potentially bonding go after the police department. I just think a larger discussion of potential bonding for, of various infrastructure needs or capital planning which could include bonding for capital infrastructure needs. It just would be fair, I think, to put that in there as well.
It might be nice to add a bullet about the charter revision too, as a major goal.
So,
This is major goals. It's not a list of
pretty
everything we
major.
hope to accomplish. But I'll certainly give it some thought. Appreciate it. Appreciate your input.
I would just like, in the interest of transparency, to be sure that everybody's aware that I have serious questions about the continued publication of the townwide newsletter. If you have to cut money, that didn't exist when I was first selectman. I know there was the Bethwood News at the time, for a while at least, or Amity News, whatever it was. But there's an awful lot of electronic opportunities available. I realize there are a few people in our community who still don't get that stuff, but there are ways to do a less expensive document that's handed out at the senior center or available at town meetings or something.
This is a
available
direct
at the
result of
library.
my conversations with our seniors when I go to the senior center on a monthly basis. This is also an indication, and also a result of my discussions with people who I've met at different events, door to door, however you want to say it, where they miss significantly the newsletter.
It was my
that they-
fault. I
that
stopped
they,
it, tried to save money.
You mean the
Yes.
town, Woodbridge Town News?
The Woodbridge Town, excuse me.
Yep.
There's-
Yes,
Tried
I
to
do
save money and
remember
I stopped
that.
it.
But the
And then I
Woodbridge
guess
Town
you got
News is,
hammered by-
now that it's online, there's a
Sorry.
number of people who say they don't see it, and they've actually expressed appreciation for the fact that they were receiving something in the mail from the town, every household, in terms of what's happening in the town. So that's something that that's been reinforced by resident input in terms of keeping it going.
Okay, and I've heard the reverse. So,
Amy, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but if what I've heard is similar to yours, it's not necessarily that they don't value receiving something, it's that it's not as diverse in what is being shared in terms of perspective and representation of news.
well, and just straight information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. It could have more information in it.
You know, it's reduced.
For
It's,
more money, it can't.
yeah.
Right, I mean, that's why it is
Yes,
only
I
that
know.
one fold, because
I know.
it was more money if it was more pages.
Right.
If you're saying, if you're indicating that it's $8,000 that we're looking to budget for this is too much, then trying to do anything more, obviously, and keep in mind that that's subsidized by our
Ads.
going out to getting advertisements
Yeah.
in order to make it available as it is.
Mika, one compromise, if you would call it that, might be adding a QR code to a web page, a town web page that has
QR codes are included in the articles.
more information.
So-
But I'm saying, even with stuff that's not pertinent to the article, so you have a broader scope of information sharing that isn't limited to 2 pages or whatever it may be. Just a
It
thought.
comes down to space in terms of, I can tell you, it's something that Tony Belinsky specifically does a lot of work on, and optimizing the space because it's limited and because we have advertisements. is-
No, absolutely, but that's why on the
I've-
website, there's no limit.
I've
Really.
not, certainly not spoken to anybody who said that they didn't think it was worth it so far,
You
in
know,
terms of residents.
to your point, I think putting more things on the website is going to be helpful to get the broader perspective of all of the things that are happening in town. We're also going to need the personnel
To manage it.
to manage that.
Absolutely.
So, but we will save on, one, people will get better communication,
Yeah.
and we may be able to save some space in printing materials.
So, which segues nicely into what I wanted to end with, and that's the fact that although you see the numbers, you see the salaries, and you see the general titles of the people who are staff on this, where we are looking at reorganizing, we are looking at changing that and optimizing that specifically to include additional communications capabilities or to expand our communication capabilities so we can do things like try to educate our older generation who may not be as comfortable with computers in such a way as they would be able to use a digital version of a newsletter that you can put a lot more information on. So that's something that it's one of the reasons I asked for a personnel committee to meet. It's one of the first things we'll be taking up is this reorg that we're looking at, something that we will be reviewing at our meeting on the 11th, so that you have a flavor for exactly what we're looking to do. I'm sorry, 14th?
Yeah.
No, it's the 11th, isn't it?
11th.
It's the 11th.
It's not the 14th.
Yeah.
So,
No, I got an invite. I did.
but I think it will be significant, but I also think it'll bring attention and resources to areas that we currently are not able to do. And it will, help particularly from a communication, particularly from a community events and operations and coordination aspect than as compared to what we're doing now.
So I would also like to just say under community events, since we're trying to squeeze everybody else's, I'm wondering what opportunity there is for more fundraising to support some of these community events, with people,
The main events that we're talking, like the ones that I mentioned, were all fundraising was a part of all of them. Now, could they do more? Could they get more? It's possible. But at this point in time, we're actually having challenges with overlap, because some of the events you're going to the well too often, and people are it's all town events, but we have to remember the concerts have sponsors. Earth Day has sponsors. The Woodbridge Like Me Day has sponsors. The Living Treasure has sponsors. 3 or 4 events that they do at the Human Services Organization has sponsors. So to respond to what you're saying, yes, a lot of them already include fundraising as part of what they're doing. Can we do more, or can we do something that's just specific to that? That's a different initiative, but we're also looking at potential of starting a Friends of Woodbridge, similar to the Friends of the Library, or a Woodbridge Foundation type of an organization that might be able to do some fundraising and require some donations and things of that nature, so that we would have another pool of monies, so to speak, to be able to offset some of the costs that we have here.
Well, I think that the latter, whether it's a fund or a foundation, is particularly a good idea. I was just thinking about that because of the Residents Assistance Fund, but with the change in the tax law about donations, people might prefer to give a substantial chunk in one year and then nothing other year, because of the way write-offs are going to be for donations changed. It has to be like 0.5% of your income before you get a deduction. Yeah, it's new.
Yeah.
So it does sort of, it lends people to giving money in chunks every few years or every other year, rather than on an annual basis. So a foundation or a fund would be helpful, particularly if we gave people some kind of kudos once a year.
Yeah, and it's an area, if you know people, because right now we're at a point where we're looking for individuals who would support this and work on it. So we've got a couple already, but we're continuing to observe. New Haven, where we'll probably, I won't get into it. We can get into it another time, but.
Great.
So the town planner lives in general professional services?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, just from my background, town council, it looks like there was a big jump a couple of years back. Was that?
Yes, that was Jerry Weiner stopping and
So it was
us
a higher
hiring somebody.
share of a town council?
I'm sorry?
Was it a higher share of a town council?
No, we just changed. When Jerry retired,
Yeah.
we went out to bid for a new town councilor. We interviewed different town councils, and that was the increase. Jerry hadn't changed his rate.
Oh, so we were getting a deal.
We were getting a
In
deal.
my day, town council was $2,000 a month. So
Okay.
it's just
All
like
It was, we were getting
or $2,000 a year.
we were
I
getting
don't
a
remember
deal.
whatever.
He
it
hadn't
was.
changed his rates for like 8 years or 6 years, or whatever it was.
Books and periodicals. What do we still need that's in print?
Books and periodicals.
It's the
Which
last
which
line.
line?
It's the last line.
It's 0. Oh,
We
0%.
we still get the newspaper delivered on a daily basis, and there's other
Is printed,
materials.
Because I get the newspaper, Wall Street Journal online. Would it be cheaper to get this online? Is that, or is it something that's looked at by multiple
It's
people? Or
including the public when they come in, if they're waiting, yes.
Well, it's because of me you don't get the New York Times too. Roger
Right.
Harrison used
That's
to get
right.
the New York Times.
Right. Right.
I got rid of it.
Well, now they can at least come here to see the notices that are published.
Yeah, right.
Right,
Might
exactly.
be their only way.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mika?
Not
There
at
is,
this time.
there are dollars, as I said, in contingency that we anticipate could play a part into what this overall budget ends up as, but that's something that we'll go over in more detail when I outline the plan for the reorg.
Capital, Mika? Is there anything?
Oh, capital.
I can,
20 take that one?
Yeah, Tony, you want to go, you want
Sure.
to just start that off while I'm looking here?
Yep.
I can almost tell you by
So,
heart.
we put one item that's in the Board of Selectmen capital budget is one you all know very well, which is the school project. We kept the same information as last year, as that project should be reflected in this budget somewhere, if it's a project that you're contemplating. So, that is one item. I'm just pulling up the rest of the information, give me 1 second.
Demolition.
Yeah, the other one is,
Second one is, we have in there funds for upgrades to the center building, which would be done over time and would include, and we may have to update this number, but this was what we had as of the printing of this document, so we felt like we wanted to put something in there to reflect the fact that that building needs some improvements, but I know we have some ongoing discussions about roofs and HVAC and other items which may change this information. The demolition of the former country club clubhouse is the third item.
I'm
These are
sorry,
in-
Tony, can I just back up real quick to the center building? That
Sure.
wasn't included in the building department or other,
But if
Or
we,
like-
last year, 2 years.
it always
last year, 2 years?
confuses me how we break down the capital of the center because there's human services that have center building
Right.
requests, there's building
That's true.
department. So this is separate from anything we've heard.
Correct. And this
Okay.
is reflected in some of the information that was in the study, that was $40 million.
Okay.
But rather some of the items when I went over with Dwight about what is very critical. And so we sort of put those in there for those years. And I can get you more specific on that.
That's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it's years
It's out a
ago.
few years, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
The demolition of the former country clubhouse is in there for $1.5 million.
certainly there's opportunity for grant funding there. DOH in particular does that, but obviously what they're looking for us to do is utilize it
And
for,
it's a considerable risk having that facility there.
we should not
So,
ignore it
You
until
should not
such.
ignore it.
But what's the plan, to go out and ask for the grant first, or does it
We have a
to be-
$50,000 grant to do a phase two analysis at that area that it'll include the clubhouse. So once we identify what the phase two results are, we'll be in a better position to define what we need to do. The 1.5 is kind of a placeholder because we don't know if it'll be more because there's,
What's in the building?
yeah, we don't know what's,
Right.
if there's,
Right. So
But
used to
then
be
you're
1
saying
million.
that, but then there might be demolition grants as well, is what you're
yes, there
saying.
could be potential for grants depending on what we end up doing on the property as a whole. Yes,
Yeah, it'd probably important to know what the conditions are of the grant.
correct.
But we wanted to have something in here to identify the fact that that's an obligation of the town that people have to think about, like you mentioned
Yes.
earlier about the school.
Yeah, I agree. I
And
don't-
finally, and this has been on here for a long time, but it's another obligation that we shouldn't lose track of or sight of, and that's any remediation that may or may not be required on the property, the country club property.
Right.
And that would really be our responsibility, like if part of it is subdivided and sold.
Correct.
It couldn't be to the purchaser, to the
It
to
could
the
be.
buyer.
It could be.
It could be.
It could be.
And like
It-
same with the demolition, or
Could
you're
be.
saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's why hasn't been done in so long, because
Yeah.
it was always the idea that maybe someone else would
But
do it.
Yeah.
I think the difference, though, is when you're looking at where the remediation is primarily in the area of where the storage was, that isn't necessarily where
Right.
the development focus is.
Right,
Yeah.
right, that's possible.
So if
Yeah.
the land is not,
It does overlap to a certain degree, but again, we'll know that the phase two will include that area. Obviously, it'll
And what's
focus in that area.
Mika, what's the timeline for phase two?
Spring, it'll depend on the weather
Okay.
because they need to go out there and do some borings and things of that nature,
But
so.
it's queued up.
It is
for-
queued up. It's
okay.
already queued up.
Thank you.
Yes, we're working with Rex on that. It's a Rex grant, and they will select an environmental professional who will do it.
An
And that's
LEP.
going to be, in the next couple months, we'll know who that is.
Okay.
I'm sorry, with all of this Beecher stuff, I'm not finding the center building. What number did you
Oh,
put
going.
in?
Page
It's
91.
It's way down.
Page 91.
Okay.
Or at least that's what it was when.
On the summary, it's probably a
Yeah.
little easier.
If you
to
look on
see.
the summary, it's a little
A
easier.
little easier.
It sort of captures it all in one sort
But
of.
how much is it? I'm not.
$2 million starting
How
in
much?
30. $2 million starting in 30, 31, and 32.
2 million.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, but so that's not the 5 million, that doesn't include the 5 million.
Nor does it include the capital that Jeanette showed us
Right.
for, correct,
But there are
Or the
other items on
police.
there. There's windows, there's
correct.
all kinds of other issues.
So really,
that
when you
we
add them
mentioned.
up, do we have a total, is it in the summary of, from all the departments, Board of Selectmen, Police, Human
When we do
Services?
the,
Yes, for bonded, you mean?
For the center building
Oh, for
specifically?
the center building.
When we,
The, you
The-
know,
And taking those all in parts is better than the one study that they worked on in the building committee. I mean,
the engineering will determine that.
the engineering will
Yes.
determine, okay, because we did look at that all at
Yep.
once, and that was a big number, and now it just seems like we're doing the same thing, but in chunks,
yeah.
which,
And
Which may be,
it was honestly also postponed simply because you have other large capital obligations in front of you. So you sort of have to prioritize them.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's gonna be vitally important is that, we're gonna have to add all of this up and the potential and have, Tony give us
Yes.
a analysis of what that does to our bond rating, to all of our,
I'm
all
happy to
financial
do that, and I've
impacts.
started sort of preparing for that, but the one big piece that really will drive this whole thing is what percentage reimbursement we're getting from the state for the school project. Because without that, I mean, I don't know if it's 25%, 30%, 50%, 60%. If
I
you're
wouldn't
talking-
guarantee you, I wouldn't count on 60%.
But we've been,
Because there's also the 7.5 million that hasn't been paid for, and there's a
so
penalty for
the
that.
point is, there's a lot of moving parts there until
Yeah.
we identify a better idea of what those are on such a large project. I think you need to do that.
Right, but we do need that analysis, and I can't see how any of this could be done, even half of what we've been talking about, without impacts
to our bond rating.
on our, yeah.
Well, it also
so he's
depends.
working, you know, our grant writer is working on solidifying all of that.
Right.
But there are, some special programs, that we're taking advantage of that have not always been offered with grant reimbursement funding. There's some special programs that are out there that bring our reimbursement rate slightly above 50%. The exact number above that, we're still getting that number down, but there are certain programs that are available right now that have not been available in the past, especially to towns in Woodbridge. So it may be an opportunity for us to get.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Additionally, as far as bond rating is concerned, there's also projects that we can, growth projects that we can implement and can coincide with some of what we're doing here that would help from a
That's always a plus
from a growth
from a bond,
perspective.
from a bond
Correct.
rating perspective.
Correct.
But it depends what the growth projects are. I
Well-
mean, they may also put more, financial obligations on the town, too.
Don't think they'd be growth if they were minus, so I'm thinking the stuff that puts us in the positive. Correct.
Tony, when we see the capital requests and it says impact on operating budget, right?
Yes.
So the demolition of the clubhouse, right? For
Right.
example, you specify in here has a positive impact on the operating budget, right?
Right.
And there's a couple of sentences on it, but has anybody put numbers?
We
So can
haven't
look at
really,
potential
no.
offset on some of this?
There is not, until we get more information on the timing of that, but the positive impact, of course, is the amount of time spent over there
Right.
at that facility.
So what's that
would be
number, right?
significant,
And
yeah.
You can dimensionalize.
We
it
could,
A little different.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we
You-
could.
You had that.
Yeah.
That's a good thought.
Because it just looks like it's just a pure
He-
ad, right?
Yeah, but I would say they spend sometimes several hours a week
Right.
over there. So we'd calculate that in terms of lost time doing other things, certainly.
Yeah, I'm just saying, going through the process, it's mentioned throughout these capital requests. and
Yeah.
there are no numbers to
Right,
sort of
right.
support that.
Right, right.
Because reviewing the capital is even discussed, like that's the big piece. Though,
Right, right.
So,
Revenue?
Revenue, yeah.
Where's that?
So there's a revenue section in the
not, it's there.
And so, I could just go through this, if it's under, if you look in the file folders, it's right at the
Second
top.
folder.
The second folder.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yep, 000.
If anyone's in ClearGov, if you put in for the type of either expense or revenue, if you put revenue in, it's in the first revenue line.
The, so the revenue estimates are broken down into categories, and so I'll just review each category. The first is non-current tax revenue, which is essentially prior property tax revenue and delinquent interest that we I've continued a budget of $380,000. Intergovernmental revenue we do not have yet, so the revenue estimates are so far equal to last year's, or the current year, 26, and we should have more clarity on that in the next week. When the governor's budget comes out, we'll at least have an idea of where the revenue, intergovernmental revenues are headed. Department charges, these are the requests from the departments. So, for instance, you'll notice a couple of variances here. The building permit fees were from $540,000 to $598,000. That was from the department. These were all from the departments. The transfer station fees are $175 in the current year, and they're down to $120. So that, of course, can be adjusted should you increase or adjust any of the fees at the transfer station. You can see the history of fees on the schedule of the past 3 years. Recreation fees are pretty much the same. The center rental went down from $69,000 to $3,000 because we no longer have the child center renting space. So there's a little bit of a decline in department charges. Interest income based on where our current rates are, and I've a little conservative, but 600,000 is what I put in here. Look, I'll continue to monitor that as time goes on to see if our investments perform any differently, but we're currently on target to be at about 730,000 for the current year. So that's we're pretty close there. And just to review in the other revenue section, so the fund balance appropriation of $800,000 is essentially a revenue item that you put that you never collect because it's our own money. So it's essentially, you can call it a plug, you can call it something to balance the budget, but it's essentially a revenue item that you don't collect from an outside source. So as you can see in the previous 3 years, it's always zero, but it's a budget item which helps to balance the budget. And there's always usually a question on that every year. And finally, police private duty is roughly about the same level of activity. That could fluctuate significantly from year to year. The rates, the activity I think is going to be down a little, but we've increased the fee for the car and some of the admin fee a little. So that should accommodate, make up for a slight reduced activity level. So the next big item on the revenues is to find out where we're getting from the intergovernmental revenue.
Intergovernmental revenue.
Right, it's basically grants from Hartford, from the state.
Okay, got it.
The largest, there's ECS, there's the motor vehicle reimbursement, there's a bunch of other things in there, town road aid.
Town road aid was always important.
Yeah.
So that could
I think that one's going, I've heard that town road aid is going up.
Okay.
And so we'll see.
So we don't really know. It's kind of an guess estimate.
Yeah, I just kept the last year's because they tend to not vary wildly from year to year.
Got it.
Well, this is the second year of the 2-year budget, right? So this is a
Right.
shorter legislative
This is
session.
shorter, right, so hopefully we'll get it resolved,
Yeah.
sometime pretty soon.
Well, maybe not in
But
time
not
for
usually.
it. But my point is, if it's the second year, they don't fiddle as much.
Right, right.
Usually. They might because of what's going on at the federal level.
Right, right.
So.
Okay, that's it.
Any other questions for Tony?
No?
None?
Make it grow.
So this is the last night of the presentations, obviously. When we started, we asked the Board of Finance, ask each department to come close to zero or as close as possible, which is not obviously possible. So this is their like to have. Obviously, the Board of Finance, we're gonna go through and we're gonna make recommendations. What's the process? The
So,
Board of Selectmen?
The next process, the step in the process is the Board of Selectmen will meet to make recommendations to the Board of Finance, which you have to do by March 1st. And then Board of Finance will meet in March, and they have to make a recommendation to the town for a public hearing by April 1st. And then the public hearing is, I think it's the last week of April, if I'm not mistaken.
Everything's a little later this year.
It's a little later this year, yeah.
So at what point do we go back to the departments and say,
So you'll have a meeting early March to review the selectmen's recommendations and then take it from there? Some years you've gone, depends on your,
can we do it before that? And communicate that to the Board of Selectmen versus waiting till, or would you rather the Board of Selectmen first, then Board of Finance, or?
It's
would
you have the final decision, so we make a recommendation to you,
right.
Okay.
and that'll
That's
happen in the
how
February timeframe.
And usually you cut it more than we do.
Yeah,
Yes.
which we rely on you to do, I think. At least I do.
Right. That's
Yeah.
usually how it
But
works.
we also, we are gonna get,
8.71%
the priorities from Brad, right?
Yeah, they're-
Is there any other
they're in here, right?
additional information we need?
I also uploaded an email from Ron Smith with the mileage on the animal control vehicles that are part of the capital budget.
Oh, thank
So
you.
Thank
Right.
Okay, so maybe you can show me where it's Brad's stuff is, because I don't,
I
okay.
don't know that we've gotten Brad's yet, right?
Yes,
I
it's,
uploaded them.
It was
Oh,
it's
you
up
did?
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
But
look
what's
under
it-
building maintenance.
Oh, okay.
What is it under? It's just under
Building
maintenance?
maintenance.
So it's just added to what he
Yeah.
Yeah, it
presented?
says priority maintenance, you know, it says a,
So under building maintenance,
Yeah.
it's now got, I see that. Okay, great, thank you. That's helpful. Okay.
So Mika, will this be, just remind me, on our February 11th regular
No,
meeting?
no, it's the 18th.
Correct. We have
We're
a
meeting on the
second
18th.
meeting specifically for this topic.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Scheduled meeting.
That's
but
right, it's already scheduled.
Yep.
And while the Board of Selectmen is here, I think,
Wait,
Steve,
is it
we
on
need
the
a,
18th?
we need a meeting about charter revision on the 3rd.
No, it's on the 17th, our next meeting. Our next budget meeting is on the 17th.
The budget, yes, our budget
Okay.
meeting is on this,
17th?
Yes,
that week. It's a week after our.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then the Board of Finance meets on March 4th.
March 4th, right, that's the first meeting.
What's the,
We don't have a
That's
separate
give me
meeting?
direct. You do, your regular meeting, but
Regular
your
meeting,
budget
okay.
meeting's March 4th.
March 4th, okay.
The delivery date.
That's when you
and,
start,
combined
you know,
document.
reviewing and give
on
direction
the 11th?
Gotcha.
to
That's what I,
departments.
After the Board of
I think we should talk
Yeah.
about that offline.
It's up to you all. It said within 30 days. It's up to you all. So,
okay.
All right, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you, everybody. 9 o'clock on the dot.